Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my July 2026 horoscope astrology forecast. We have a very, very rare sequence of events that are happening this month. It's unusual for us to have those slow-moving planets at the outside of our solar system come into a mathematical configuration. Even one aspect like that is rare. But we have 7 happening this month, which is just really doesn't happen. So I'm going to go into those details along with the dates and what you can expect from those placements. All of that will be included in this intro. Please do listen to the intro because the information I cover here will not be repeated in the time-stamped sections per each sign. You may want to have a piece of paper handy because I'm going to give you a bunch of dates this month. Important things to note. If you want a written version of the dates that I'm giving you in this report, go in another browser right now to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, and in the welcome letter we'll have instructions for you to find the July star report that has that very detailed list as well as things you can expect from those aspects. But we're going to go into that now. So we've got, of the 7 aspects that are these outer planets, we're talking about Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, the planets that take longer to move around, and they move more slowly because of that, and they take longer to move into these mathematical configurations, and they're in these configurations for longer when they happen. As above, so below, we feel what is going on the earth in the general scene and in our personal experience when these archetypal forces come together. I'm really happy to tell you that only 2 of the 7 aspects are salty ones. Salty is the word that I use for the ones that clash and are not getting along. So I'm going to start with the kind of annoying ones first, but I will let you know too that these 2 aspects aren't as bad as they could be, considering because they do have Jupiter, the great benefic, involved in them. So that is at least helpful to know. So let's talk about those salty aspects first. July 1st, right at the beginning of the month, we've got Jupiter in Leo square Chiron. Right? Jupiter recently in Leo, Chiron recently in Taurus, and they are clashing. What you may see from this on a general worldly level or on your individual experience level is an exposure of these collective wounds that are, or your individual wounds that are around confidence, leadership, worth, creativity, survival, values. Leo wants that bold expression. And Taurus and Chiron may reveal these insecurities around stability and deservingness or safety, or may just rock stability. You may really be feeling this swing between overconfidence and self-doubt, and any old wounds that you have around being seen or appreciated, or your talents, or feeling lovable or feeling good enough may surface for healing. So it is a very vulnerable space, but Jupiter is there to kind of expose this and to hopefully bring solutions that will instill that nice Leo confidence. Then on July 20th, and the dates that I'm giving you are the dates, they are exact, but there's a wide window around the aspect time because of these slow movements. So you'll definitely be feeling this before and after for a while. But Jupiter will come and oppose Pluto in Aquarius. So you will see these themes of power and influence and leadership and technology and wealth and control and transformation for the collective, while Leo is emphasizing the personal creativity and visibility. And the Aquarius part with the Pluto is intensifying the collective systems and these group power dynamics. So there's this dramatic clash between individual expression and societal restructuring. For the whole year that Jupiter is in Leo, now we've just started this in July, and this will be going until July of 2027, there is this collective story of people being driven towards this massive growth and ambition and visibility and desire to do hobbies for a higher percentage of your time than, than is relegated now, a small portion or percentage, or if any. And so that's this story that, the individual expression is wanting to really explode in a good way, expand in a good way. But this aspect can definitely bring up these ego battles, obsessions, excess, overcommitting, overdoing, power struggles. So trying to balance this is pursuing expansion and your own voice without the force of outcome in a certain way, expressing for expression's sake itself without getting locked into, an opposing force. Although you may feel this opposing force inside of you where society needs you to do this and your creative forces want you to do this, and you'll feel that push and pull and hopefully push through to a resolution. The other way I see this aspect acting is that with the automation, which in some ways Aquarius can rule that, AI automation, things that, happening on this collective level, losing the individual spirit and the uniqueness with this AI push is being activated at this time, and hopefully there will be some counter forces to the growing amount of streamlining that's going on that becomes more automated or robotic, where over this course of this next year, the individual human voice will want to really shine. And the conflict between those two forces will be felt very strongly with this aspect. Okay, I'm just going to blow through these moon dates real quick. I'm actually not going to go too much into the moons in this report because I am going to have two separate time-stamped videos. One for this new supermoon at 22 degrees of Cancer on July 14th. I'll have a separate report out closer to that time. And on July 29th, we do have a full moon at 6 degrees of Aquarius. So I just want you to know those dates for your calendar. But, and we may touch on them a bit in the time-stamped area, but I will go into a lot more details in their own reports this month. But now we can go on to the sweet aspects. Okay, so the first one on July 15th is this very, very, very rare aspect. Uranus and Gemini making a trine, the most fabulous aspect in all of astrology, with Pluto in Aquarius. Just to kind of give you an idea of how not often this happens, just think about it. If Pluto takes 240 years to move around, and Uranus takes about 84 years to move around, the odds that they're going to come together in this particular 120 degree form is very rare. Okay, so like I said, any one of these aspects alone are enough to celebrate or to look at for the salty ones. But having them all at the same time is a really big deal. So with this one, it's really a major evolutionary aspect that's linked to this deep societal transformation through technology, communication, the collective systems. There is a support in the direction of decentralization and intellectual liberties and social reform and breakthroughs that are permanently changing the way that people connect, the way that people share information, and there may be this entire modernization of systems that seem that it takes place very rapidly. As an individual, you may feel this empowerment to reinvent yourself. This is a strong theme that I talked about with the Jupiter and Leo. We're seeing it again here. Mentally, socially, professionally, these old limitations that are around how you express yourself, and this lightning zap of wild lightning bolt energy just kind of zaps in something new. But this is a positive aspect. So again, things that happen from this may be surprisingly fast. You may just drop fears, drop confusion, drop blocks to self-expression. So you're embracing this transformation very consciously and using innovation to create these meaningful long-term changes for yourself and very likely others as well. In the days around July 17th and 18th, which again, this echoes out much further before and after. Oh, sorry. Okay, so actually this exact date is around July 17th or 18th. But like I said, it doesn't even matter because this is so big. It's so much before and so much after, but I just want to have that right. The Pluto, Uranus, is exact July 17th or 18th. On the 15th, it's Uranus making a sweet aspect with Neptune in Aries. Okay, so we have this part of what's going on now. Another aspect with Uranus, meaning things are going to come out of the blue. Technology could be involved, futuristic thinking could be involved, a lightning strike, even return back to simplicity. We talk about Uranus ruling technology, and you will see those things happen there. But sometimes it doesn't have to do with technology. It can have to do with something different. And if what is going on is technology, then something different may be a reversion to basic, simple ways. So it's different from whatever things are. And when you're mixing this with Neptune, now you've got this powerful bridge between imagination, between intuition, between innovation, which sometimes is going back to basics and has nothing to do with tech. As a whole, society may experience this rapid type of breakthrough succession in communication and AI and media and education and spirituality and transportation and conscious exploration or consciousness exploration, and also exploration out of our, off of our planet as well. So this feeling that entirely new futures are suddenly possible, the future becomes now, and there's this spirit of experimentation and embracing visionary ideas that really comes from this on the global and the individual level. So you may feel this mentally awakeness, this creative inspiration, this intuition, this draw towards artistic expression. And this may go back to, if you can have AI design things, artists can get upset, right? But it's possible that you will somehow be supported maybe with things like proofing of human-made things, where we will have this tributary running alongside of AI, of human-made things that will give artists incentive to do what they do and show how they can do it without AI. There will be this counter force that occurs, and this creative revolution may really start to occur from this. Staying flexible and curious with this aspect and with all of these aspects can be very, very helpful. Okay, in the days around July 20th, we've got Jupiter in Leo making a beautiful trine with Neptune in Aries. So now that, you see, we have a very strong, and I talked about this happening, a lot of fire between Jupiter and Neptune and Saturn, Aries, these outer planets, and then Uranus in Gemini, which is an air sign, and Pluto in Aquarius, which is an air sign, which means that we have all of these outer planets are speaking the same language with elements that get along, fire and air. That's why we're having so many of these nice aspects now, and why this is rare, because this isn't commonly occurring. And now we're going to add, we already have Neptune here involved, we're going to add Jupiter and Neptune making a trine. See, all of this is happening at the early degrees. Jupiter will lock into place when it gets to 4 degrees, and now it will bring this beautiful wave of inspiration and optimism and creativity and spirituality and a renewed belief in possibility. These artistic movements that you hear me talking about, there are many layers to this. This visionary leadership, this collective enthusiasm, this gearing up to support human-made things while we also embrace the way that AI can assist artists as well, or artistic expression as well. So there's room for all of it, and this desire for hope and generosity and courage and meaningful purpose can be catapulted with this aspect. Pretty much simultaneously, Jupiter is joining with Uranus in this configuration, and this is adding those breakthroughs back in, adding the experimentation, these things out of the blue, this very rapid progress. This may feel unusually adventurous or mentally energizing, and you might be ready to take chances, take these risks, and do something unexpected that could work out really well as fortunate connections and luck. Anything involving like a larger, expanded view or a big vision is going to be very well supported here. And that one is around July 21st. This one is July 20th. So you can see it's all happening this month. Finally, we have Neptune again and Pluto, you see, because all of these are pretty much locking into formation. We've got Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter in this, lock together. in a very powerful mathematical configuration. So now the energy of Neptune, which is that quiet, restful, intuitive, creative, artistic, psychologically and spiritually connected and aware, dreamtime space, in between space between life and the world beyond, and all of that dreamy, fantastical magic that Neptune has, in a beautiful angle with the powerhouse of energy, Pluto. So having your own energy generator into your spiritual forces. So spiritual forces, artistic forces are awakening with major productivity at this time. Since the planets, or since Mercury is in retrograde, we'll talk about that more in the individual timestamps, there is going to be also a tilt to the past. So things that you've wanted to do in the past may resurface, or things that you started in the past may start to bubble up in very major ways now. Okay, so let's get on to the timestamps for each of your signs. Remember, in another browser, go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash to get your July star report with all of those dates and other more detailed descriptions that I just mentioned, those big transits and all of the other aspects. If you want a personalized report based on your chart with the outer planets, go to anniebclarity.com, Annie the letter B clarity.com to see my offerings there. And if you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com. beastropro.com. You can find the timestamps for the YouTube videos in the pinned post underneath the video, and you can also find them in the notes underneath the video. For podcast listeners, if you're on my Buzzsprout Astro Kisses Astrology Now site, you will see the timestamps underneath each one. If you are on Spotify, you may have, I don't know if they sync over, you may have to go find Annie Botticelli Astro Kisses Buzzsprout and see that site for the timestamps. Hello, Aries friends. Okay, so let's get into some Aries specific information. If you haven't listened to the intro already, I do cover the 7 major aspects this month and give you those new moon and full moon dates. I'm not going to give you that info again, but it's there for you if you want to see the very rare, crazy lineup that we have this month. So let's get into some Aries specific things. First, very exciting thing, we've got Jupiter now in a fire sign for a year. This is very exciting because Aries people have been getting doused, and I mean doused, with emotion, other people's emotion, our emotion, expansion to home and family, or occurrences in home, family, and housing that may have turned out to be okay, but have been very stressful or very bittersweet or very much hard work. When you have the happy planet of Jupiter making a difficult aspect with the energy of Aries and all of your Aries placements, it really throws water on your fire. So creativity could have been dampened. Relationships could have gotten, very deep, which again could be a great thing. But my gosh, has it been a lot of work? So as an Aries rising, and by the way, this is for Aries sun, Aries moon, Aries rising. So I have Aries rising, and so I've been going through this with you, and wow, has it really been dogging us? Beautiful things have happened, but yeah, pretty happy that Jupiter is moving into fellow fire sign now, because we've got from July until July of 2027, where we've got this fire party, and this is accentuating our energy of creativity. You may see your creative spirits soar in ways that they haven't for like 12 years. And if you think back to what you created 12 years ago, was it a human? Was it a creative baby? Did you find your true love? Was it a highly romantic time? Did you do lots of bucket list stuff? Have you had lots of hobbies going on? All of that stuff may come around now. And you're setting a new 12-year cycle in place now. So you may be on fire with your creativity more than you have been in a very, very long time. The benefits of some of those aspects that I mentioned, with Jupiter being in a great aspect with Neptune and with Uranus and with opposing Pluto, but still at work with Pluto while Pluto is in nice angles to these other placements, there is this major creative force at play, and you may really surprise yourself with your output. Now, Mercury is retrograde this month, so let's talk about that for a moment. Just a recap of the Mercury story, around June 12th or 13th, we started the pre-transit shadow period. Then the official retrograde occurred around June 29th. Mercury will go direct around July 23rd, These dates may shift a little bit depending on your time zone, but close enough. And we will get out of the post-transit shadow period around August 8th, which will then open our last open period free from personal planet retrogrades for the entire rest of 2026, because we will have a Venus retrograde cycle, and that shadow period will start at the end of August. We also are in eclipse season. So we've got 2 August eclipses that we will talk about in August. They are very, very powerful, and you will be feeling them already. 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipses, big news coming in, big trajectory shifts. I don't have time to go into all of that now. If you want more of a sneak peek on that, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash. There will be information in the welcome letter on how to access my eclipse resource page and my retrograde resource page. So you can go to those resources that are free for you if you would like. But what we need to know now is that the season has started, and these very major changes that have been following this continuum every 6 months for these now 2 different polarities that we have going on, which are the Leo Aquarius and the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycles, are activating change. Okay, so change is coming, but we're in a retrograde and we don't know what it's going to mean. So August is going to bring more clarity about these eclipse pieces. It's going to bring more clarity from these beautiful aspects that are happening this month. So if you've got to make decisions and you can put it off a little bit into August, that window between August 8th and August 31st is going to be your prime time for the tides to go out. Okay, so if you want to make big moves, big decisions, big contracts, things that are much easier, scheduling, surgeries. Of course, picking a surgery date is more complex than we can talk about in the general scene, but we do know what to avoid. Of course, if it's an emergency surgery, you have to just do it and don't worry about anything else. But if it's something that you plan or something cosmetic, Venus is going to rule cosmetic things, and it's not the best time to get surgeries in the time we're going to come up through. So, or cut all your hair off, or get something irreversible from a beauty perspective. So August is going to be this month where you kind of have the time for that. But in July, you may be starting to have things brewing that you want to do, but it's not necessarily the best time unless it's out of your hands. Okay, so just that little sneak peek to frame July. Okay, so the whole month of July, the tides are going in, which means that we are observing what is going on and we are following the flow instead of trying to force our energy out. If you try to put a boat out on inflowing tides, it's going to come right back to you differently, faster than you expect. It's great for experimentation. It's great for being in the moment, being in the flow, oiling the squeaky wheels in your life. Whatever the tides bring to your shore, that's what you're supposed to be dealing with. It's not the time to implement these very big, long-range visions that may come through these great aspects. Jupiter in these beautiful aspects may give you this bigger vision, but because the retrograde is happening at the same time, you don't have all the information yet. If you act on it now, it will evolve and you will wish that you waited a little bit, very likely. Of course, you have to trust your intuition and let that trump anything that I or anyone else says. But because these big things are happening this month, you may think that you're supposed to take a lot of actions this month. And, you will be still contending with these tides coming in. So you're in a place where you're on the shore, waiting to see what the tides bring you. And you are the spider who's waiting in the webs that you've already made, maybe plotting out your next moves, but you're not, and you're repairing your webs and doing your, little edits to your webs, etc. But you're just sort of waiting until the tides go out, where you can go out and make your webs and put your boats afloat again. Mars is in Gemini. This is a very good placement for Aries. It will make you a little bit more confused and want to get your fingers in a little more pudding pies than you may be able to manage, but it is very exciting. This is going to light up this along with long-term planets Sedna and Uranus and shorter-term movement Ceres are going to light up your movement, mobility, devices, etc. If you have to get a new device or a vehicle, you can follow the flow, but it will be a better time to do it in August. You might start pricing out, looking into loan information, looking into models of exactly what you want, in this period of time, and then plotting into August to make the big moves. things involving siblings or cousins or aunts or uncles or brothers or sisters may be very active now, as are writing, teaching, speaking, learning projects. The sun in Cancer is going to bring big focus to your home and family. And a spotlight there. You may be going back to a place that feels like home, seeing family that's close to you or people that feel like family, and tending to things that are home related. It's also a deep dive into your inner world, but this is very light compared to these outer planets that are now working, very much in sync with your elemental resonances. Now we will have this, or we have had this Mercury retrograde also in your house of home. So that has June, July into August kind of brought some intensity, brought some extra focus to your home, family, and housing. So just know that that cycle is playing itself out, and you will be able to revise, go back into, edit, reevaluate, reconsider all of these home, family things. Could be ancestry, could be genetics as well, your roots, and you'll be ready to push forward with whatever information you decide once you get into next month. Besides the beautiful aspects with Jupiter that are lighting up this fifth house, besides the Jupiter transit itself, we are going to have eventually Mercury get into Leo here pretty soon, not this month, but soon. Venus is already there. So you are stepping into this epic creativity fest. And this is also fantastic for love. Going back to things that worked for you and your partner are great this month. Going back to previous people who you've been with or who have considered or reconsidering the way that you relate to certain people in the past is going to be a more valuable pursuit than trying to meet too many new people now, unless trying to meet new people now is part of your experimentation and you're not attached to a long-term situation. Because, a lot of times when we meet people in Mercury retrograde, the way that we think it's going to be changes. And again, follow your intuition with this. If you feel really strongly about something, go with it. There aren't any hard or fast rules. But, it does favor a time of get back into the past rather than trying to reach too much into the future. Further accentuating this third house of movement, mobility, and communication, we do have that series of aspects with Uranus as well. Further accentuating the home, housing, real estate, etc., we do have on July 14th that new supermoon at 22 degrees of Cancer. I will go into that more deeply in a report of its own that's time-stamped closer to that time. And in the days around July 29th, we do have that full moon at 6 degrees of Aquarius that can bring in networking and friends and groups and teams, internet-based projects, futuristic tech-based projects. Something notable could be happening around that time or something being brought to light in that arena. Go to AnnieHelpsYou.com right now. Click on Unleash. Get the welcome letter that has the eclipse resource page to get a sneak peek into where those eclipses are hitting for you. My retrograde resource page to see what the best things are to do at this time. I have a lot of information on that. And also get my July star report with all of the important dates that I talked about with a written review of all of that. If you're interested in what the outer planets are doing in your personal chart, go to AnnieBClarity.com. AnnieTheletterBClarity.com. These outer planets are in place for a long time, and they sure do bring these major themes. So if you want to understand them better, you can see that report personalized to your chart. And all the content is made by me. All of this content is made by me. If you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. You're going to look for another one of your placements. Find the timestamps where I listed them before. Your late degree Aries placement is around April 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Aries placement through the rest of the sign. I suggest you continue on to listen to the Taurus report, which is coming up next. Hello, Taurus friends. Okay, welcome to your special section for July. This is for Taurus Sun, Rising, Moon, any other Taurus placement you're listening for. What we're going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. If you're a late degree Taurus, so birthdays around May 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign, I suggest you listen straight through after this one to the Gemini report, because your late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so let's look at what's going on in the stars as it relates to you. Biggest thing that's going on, I will go into this in more detail in a future horoscope, but I just have to mention it, that Chiron is now in Taurus. This is your sign. There are things that are undercover, that are deepest wounds that you have, that have been limiting you, and causing trouble for you for your whole life. During the next 4 to 5-ish years, as Chiron moves through your sign, you're going to have the opportunity to discover and heal these things. The general energy of approaching this part of your life is going to start coming up for all Taurus placements in one way or another. It could be noticeable or less noticeable, but those of you who are right in the beginning of the Taurus sign, so April 20th, 21st, 22nd, all right there at the beginning, you all are going to have some extra intensity. And if you're feeling that, then look up Chiron transiting through your sign to better understand what the heck is going on. Okay, so I just wanted to name that for you and let you know that that's occurring. We do have Mars just moved into Gemini, going to spend a nice little circuit until, about August 12th in your house of money, joining short-term Ceres movement and joining very long-term Sedna and Uranus movement. Mars in this place will make you very motivated to clear up any insecurities as it relates to your finances and to reassess your material experience. And that can be different for different people, but your place on the earth, whether it's from an environmentally friendly perspective or whether it's from money, financial, resources, assets, something is going on. This is a couple of month every 2-ish year cycle where you get to have a fire really lit under your butt to make some major headway here. And it could result in you just making more money at this time. It could also result in you spending more money at this time. But sometimes the two go hand in hand. The sun is lighting up Cancer, joining Hygeia and Mercury in retrograde during this Mercury retrograde cycle. The shadow period for that Mercury retrograde cycle began around June 12th, went retrograde June 29th, staying retrograde until July 23rd, and the post-shadow period will last until around August 8th. So that whole Mercury retrograde cycle there with those dates, with this other energy here, is really focusing on home, family, and housing in the short term. In the long term, Jupiter is now here to stay for a year, focusing more on home, family, and housing, your ancestry, your roots. So themes that are starting now from these short-term transits are going to be continued long-term from the Jupiter transit. Over the course of the next year, you will very likely see massive expansion come to your home and family space. For some people, that will mean new entrants of relatives to your family. For some people, that will mean new tenants to your houses or new roommates. It may be a new home, or it may be having additional homes. Sometimes Jupiter likes to get his fingers in a lot of pudding pies. So you may notice that expansion happening, but there is this focus on it, and it is important to know that this is a square. A square is a 90-degree angle, which is the angle that makes diamonds. It's a pressure angle. Sometimes the pressure isn't a bad thing. It's a deadline. It's, a date by which something has to happen. It's something where there's a time crunch, a birth of some sort. And that's what's going on in your home space. So you're feeling that. And sometimes it can just be stressful. So you may feel that as well. But it's more likely for more Taurus placements to be something wants to expand and it's drawing you out of your comfort zone and your hobbit hole. And that, it's just that discomfort with the unknown, this discomfort with something different in your home and family space is going to be what's coming up. Now, Venus is starting this movement through Leo and the 5th house. And that's going to move, it's the movement through the house, the sign that rules the house of Leo, but it's still in your 4th house. Okay, so I just want to clarify this. Jupiter and Venus are officially in your 4th house, but the Sun, Hygeia, and Mercury are in the sign Cancer that rule your 4th house. They're moving through your 3rd house. Okay, so between the sign and the house, these areas of your life are getting a lot of focus. And Venus, money and love and romance are adding to the equation for your home and family, okay? And the Leo energy that Taurus has in their 4th house is naturally ruling the 5th house of the chart, okay? Because there's a base layer where each of the houses is ruled by a certain sign. And then if you're not an Aries rising, you have a different layer on top of that. So Taurus has a Virgo layer on top of their 5th house. But whether you're getting it activated through the sign that rules the house or the house itself, the energy is still very much the same. So the energy of creativity and children and romance and love is being very, very much focused on in the long and the short term. Short-term Venus, and then you'll get the Sun and Mercury there soon in the same sign, and long-term Jupiter. So this is a time for your creativity to soar while you get out of your comfort zone, and that getting out of your comfort zone may activate some of your creativity receptors where you expand into your new level of expression. That new moon on the 14th of July is going to be in that third house in the sign of Cancer for Taurus. And the third house that all of these Cancer transits are working on for you has to do with your communication, transportation, a lot of your relatives. Between the Gemini and third house movements and the Cancer and fourth house movements, you're having pretty much every family member you could possibly list be having an increased potential for something notable to go on. So you may see you're going back to spend time with family, you're vacationing with family, people are coming to see you that are family or feel like family. And so this is a very emotionally connected time. And that new moon, which is a supermoon on the 14th, is going to just give you another line of energy for something new there. All within the web of the retrograde. Let's talk about the retrograde for a second. I gave you those dates before, but the tides are coming in all month. It's really not until August 8th that the tides go out and open up into our last open period free of personal planet retrogrades for the entire year of 2026, because Venus shadow will start at the end of August, and then we will be covered in Venus retrograde or Venus shadow for the rest of the year until the very end. So the tides are going in. So if you try to push something very important out, make big decisions, you're going to have these big enlightenments that come from these really beautiful aspects that we talked about, with all of these outer planets being accentuated, and good ideas and lightning strike visions and activation of energy are going to be occurring, but it's all still within the Mercury retrograde. So you might not know what to do with those things, and you may want to journal them, write them down, keep track of them. And when the energy gets more open into August, then it's going to be easier to take action on these things. Also couple that with the fact that the eclipses are going to be happening. We've got 2 eclipses in August. We'll talk about those in the August report, but you will be feeling the eclipses now, because 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipses, the news, the information, the storylines, the cycles, everything starts bubbling up into the consciousness again. So I'm not going to go very much into the eclipses now, but if you want a sneak peek, you can go right now to AnnieHelpsYou.com. Click on Unleash, just go in another browser window, and then in the welcome letter you get an Unleash, you will see the retrograde resource page and the eclipse resource page, and you can get sneak peeks into what the eclipse is going to look like for you before I post the August reports. Plus just some support on how you manage these retrogrades, but I'll give you a little more info now. When we're in the retrogrades, we are on the shore with the tides going in. Garbage, dolphins, good, bad, whatever things are coming up onto the shore, you are there waiting for them, and you're going to deal with whatever comes to you. You may have some big vision ideas from these big outer planet movements and connections, but it's going to be easier to do things with them when the tides are going out, which isn't going to be until August 8th. Okay, you'll feel them slowly every day after July 23rd, more and more. They'll be starting that awkward turn from going inward to going outward, and then they'll really start to cruise around August 8th. So just remember this month has that overlay, because it's going to be very active between the eclipses and these big aspects, and just kind of knowing when to just keep watching, because news is going to keep coming in. You may want to wait to make your big actions because you're going to have more information. And plus, if you try to push something out on incoming tides, it will likely come right back to you, which makes it a great month for experimentation, a great month for something intended to be short term, a great month for things of very little consequence, staycations, vacations are even fine during Mercury retrograde. You just have to double check your plans and be flexible. At the end of the month, July 29th, we do have the full moon at 6 degrees of Aquarius. And for you, that's going to light up your 10th house of work and career and other things. I'm not going to get into too much of that yet, because before the full moon, I will actually post a detailed full moon time-stamped report that will go into the specifics of that full moon and what it lights up for Taurus. But I just want you to be aware that that is coming towards the end of the month as well. And that's around the time when the energy does start to clear. So something will come to light there. If I went through all of the dates in the intro and here too quickly, remember you can go to anniehelpsyou.com and click on Unleash and get the July star report. If you want to know more about what these outer planet movements mean for you in your personal chart, go to anniebclarity.com, Annie the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. If you are a late degree Taurus placement, keep listening and we'll go right on to the Gemini scene, which is also going to be true for you. And if you're signing off for now, I will see you in my next report. Hello, Gemini friends. Welcome to your special section with the chart through the Gemini lens. This is for Gemini Sun, Moon, Rising, or any other placement you have. This is going to be one of the layers of your story. Late degree Gemini friends, June 15th birthdays through the rest of the sign or 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign. Stay listening after this Gemini report and pick up the Cancer report because your late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so first big top news we have is Mars is in your sign until about August 12th. You've got the power of obsession, of interest, of drive, of vitality, moving through everything that makes you a Gemini. Information coming in and out, teaching, learning, talking to other people, socializing, sharing, writing, speaking, editing, relatives, your expression projects, your transportation, your modes of communication and transportation, phones, devices of any kind. All of that is going to get a special fervor that you only get for a couple months every 2 years. So that's exciting. A new vitality to your identity, a new certainty to what it is you're doing, a new zest and excitement and curiosity brewing. You may find you go back to some old things because we are within this retrograde web. We are in retrograde until July 23rd. It doesn't start to get completely clear from its post-transit sleepiness until August 8th. So anything that happens this month, the big aspects, the small aspects, the small transits, the big transits, everything is within this lens of the retrograde. Most important thing to know about that is that you don't have all the information yet. Those big ideas you have, write them down so you don't forget, especially because Uranus is involved in a lot of the information that's coming in, which can make it very fleeting. And you can suddenly think of it and suddenly forget it. It might not be the time to implement these things. That's why writing them down would be a really good idea, so that when we get into the window between August 8th and August 31st, which is our last open period free from personal planet retrogrades until the very, very end of the year, then you will be prepared to take action. The 2 eclipses we have in August, I'll talk about more in the August report, but do know that you are getting eclipse news. So if you feel an intensity, if you see people around you going through some big stuff, if you feel big change coming, those eclipses are very much in effect now. You can get a sneak peek into those by going to anniehelpsyou.com in another browser right now, clicking on Unleash. In the welcome letter, there will be a link to the eclipse resource page, also a retrograde resource page, and my July star report that has all the dates and information for all the aspects we're talking about this month. So you can do that simultaneously and get more information written down if taking it in through audio or video is too much to keep track of. Okay, so all of that is happening and we have the tides going in, all right? So there may be a lot of excitement, there may be a lot of energy, but when you try to do something, it's not going to get very far. Our job during the retrograde is to be on the shore and let the tides show us what the squeaky wheel is. If garbage comes up, clean it up. If a dolphin comes up, say hello. But if you try to force something out on incoming seas, then it's going to be frustrating and it's not going to go as far or wide or be as the way you're trying to make it be. The time for pushing outward is going to come in August. You can prepare your thoughts, get your plans together, strategize, do your research. Mars in Gemini, also really great for research. Get your ducks in a row so that when those tides reverse and they start going out as you get deeper into August, then you will be ready to move forward. And right now you've got to deal with the past, wrapping up loose ends and whatever comes to you. And you will know what has the squeaky wheel because it will be very loud and in your face. Whether it's a person that needs something, a relationship that needs something, a device or an appliance that needs something, they will be loud. And the less you schedule yourself, the more you'll have space and bandwidth and time to be able to deal with whatever's ahead of you. That's what the retrograde is about. Now the Sun, Hygeia, Mercury retrograde itself are all in Cancer, bringing up home and family and housing and real estate things to be worked with. Now, we've just had a very long time of Jupiter in Cancer talking about those same kind of things, but this is a short-term focus. And for Gemini, this accentuates your money house. So doing some fine-tuning on your income. Maybe you had some new ventures come in from Jupiter over the last year. Maybe you've had some awarenesses that you're ready to kind of delve into a little bit more. You know, this is a time to reflect. It's a retrospective time, and it's a time to feel into the emotional layers of this part of your reality. Jupiter has entered a fire sign, which is fantastic for Gemini. We'll be there until the middle of 2027, joining short-term Venus, both in Leo, both in your third house of Gemini. This is going to, combined with the Mars energy in Gemini, make this a very busy time. You'll be wanting to alternate between quiet personal solitude with that Cancer energy, along with this very active, creative, fiery, enhancing your air energy with Mars in your sign of wanting to move around and interact and express. So if you've got to buy a device or some kind of mode of transportation, you may want to do research now to prepare for that nice window that will open up as we get into August. Okay, Venus in Leo can make your love life very zesty. Jupiter there, definitely helpful to that. Remember, we are in a retrograde, so new people you meet may either not be around here pretty soon, or the relationship may change, or it may be called into question and then ultimately make it. But it is important to know that everything that starts now does have this retrograde lens, and it will kind of cast a shadow of it, which may, or over it, that may make things kind of different. If that's what the divine plan is, then that's what the divine plan is. But it's better if you can organize something important to do it when the stars are more clear, which will be, into August. In addition to the Cancer energy that I listed, we've got that new moon, super moon, in Cancer on July 14th, adding some new beginnings there, even within this retrograde scope. And closer to the 14th, I will release a timestamped video going into a lot more detail about what you can expect from that new moon and what you can do with it. We also, in the days around July 29th, have a fellow air sign full moon at 6 degrees of Aquarius. I'll talk about the details of that specific moon, what makes it unique, and more details about how it may affect you in that other report that I'll make at the end of the month for the full moon, but I'll give you just a quick summary here. It's an adventure moon for Gemini, so you may find yourself packing to go far and wide, learning a language, expanding your consciousness, starting a teaching or learning opportunity or course, and it's overall a very positive, optimistic, exciting time. All Gemini placements can get the goodies from that, so no one will be left out. If you are in the early part of the sign, so May-born Geminis, you may get an extra kiss from that full moon at the end of the month. All right, if you want to know more about these outer planet movements, we've got a lot of new transits for the outer planets. If you want to see it personalized for your chart, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie the letter B, Clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology, to go deep study of astrology with support, or to do astrology professionally, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. If you are a late degree, 23 degrees or later, or birthdays June 15th or after, stay tuned and listen to the Cancer report. That will have another layer for you. If you're signing off now or going to another timestamp for another one of your placements, I'll catch you in the next report. Hello, Cancer friends. Welcome to your special segment looking at the sky through the lens of the Cancer chart. This is for your Cancers. Your sun, moon, rising, or any other placement in Cancer will be a layer of your experience astrologically. This month is very much about Cancer. This is your time when the sun is in your sign. You've also had an extra representation from Mercury, with Mercury being in retrograde since the end of June until July 23rd, with that post-transit period lasting until August 9th, and also Hygeia, all in Cancer. So this is a very emotionally focused, retrospective feeling, especially with the layer of the retrograde, internal family, housing, sacred space, your roots, your ancestry, your inner world, all pulling a lot of weight at this time. Now, flanked with all of that inward energy and that emotionally connected energy, we've got Mars recently in Gemini, making things very busy, possibly physically, like running around, going places, socializing. But specifically for Cancer, this is going to be very mentally active for you. Dreams activated, visions, intuitive messages and connections between the realms. This is a very busy time in your psychological and spiritual space. If you are prone to worrying, this Mars can make you worry more, but at the same time, it could give you the impetus to do something about it, to find more ease through meditation or journaling or, other support that can help you to manage your unruly mind. If you have a lot of ideas, and you may, because of the combination of Mars and all of these outer planet aspects that we talked about in the intro, you may want to write those down. Because the fact that Uranus is involved in a lot of this, and that is also in your 12th house of your very deep psychological space, means that you may have these fleeting ideas that come to you. So they'll come in and you'll be like, wow, that's life-changing, and then they may go out. So this is a good time to kind of anchor the busy energy with, something tangible, something you can refer back to, something that can be part of, a permanent journal or a permanent record for you to remember the ideas you had. And maybe make a note in your calendar to go back over the things that you wrote during this time, because they may be absolutely genius. Jupiter's recently gone into your second house of money and finances, heralding a whole year where your money consciousness and experience can be completely transformed between July 2026 and July 2027. That's very exciting and very good news. And in the short term, Venus is also there joining Jupiter. So you may get a boost of extra money, extra income, a money-making idea. You may go back to something that you did before. And under the lens of the Mercury retrograde, doing short-term things or bridge agreements or something intended to be temporary, like 9 months to a year or a year and a half or so, something kind of shortish term may be better indicated, but you may also find that anything that starts now changes into something different. Like you may start it intending it to be an experiment and it becomes long-term. If you start it as intending to be long-term, it fizzles out or it changes form. But there is this kind of trickster, mercurial, changeable energy that is happening now. And you've got Venus with ruling love and money. So just remember that, financial commitments, love commitments, things going on there. There's a changeability and a short-term nature here. So just be careful what you commit to, especially with Jupiter opposing Pluto, as we talked about before. In addition to all of the Cancer energy on July 14th, we've got the new supermoon at 22 degrees. It will be more powerful because it will be closer to the Earth and the Moon will be closer together. And the gravitational effects will be stronger. But that is a special time for you those days around the 14th. And if your birthday is around then, this may imprint to be a very, very important year for you, because that will work its way into your solar chart if your birthday is around then. Everyone in the Cancer scope can have a noticeable level of new beginning, even if it is a whisper because of the retrograde that comes at this time, or that you're planting seeds for your new beginning. But you may have something more noticeable, more obvious happen if you're in that later degree spectrum. That later degree spectrum, so birthdays like July 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign. Same people who I would suggest you additionally listen to my Leo report, because your late degree friends will benefit from both of those readings. You all are the same people that may actually feel this new moon more or have some extra potential from that. So that full moon is going to be days around July 29th at 6 degrees of Aquarius. For Cancer, that's going to light up your 8th house of Scorpio. Very intense moon, fullness, completion, fruition, drama, to some shared financial resources, to your very deep, intimate space, to your family money, inheritances, wills, mysteries, the mystery of spiritual or psychological pursuits. That time we're getting out of the web of Mercury retrograde a bit, so that elucidation that comes may actually bring quite a bit of clarity about something, and you may be ready to move forward with some things. And in the next week after that full moon at the end of the month, you'll have that good energy for moving forward where the tides are going out. While the tides are going in this month, the best bet is to see what they deliver to you and act on that. Okay? So if you try to put something out on outgoing tides or incoming tides, it will come right back to you. So your big launches, your big commitments, your big purchases, your big sales, your big, decisions, your big moves, if you can help them and have say in it, August will have more clarity around that. August will also have more clarity around these big aspects that are happening that we talked about in the intro. The Gemini energy is going to be associated with wanting a lot of different options. The Cancer energy is going to be indicative of retrospection and quiet moments and connections with others emotionally. And this Leo energy is going to really raise your creative forces and make you want to express. So you've got all those three energies that are bubbling up all at once. That full moon at the end of the month also may be a really great networking moon, and social connections with other people can be what brings that elucidation and that clarity. And in many cases, support, because the 8th house can be very much about resources and support from other people for the things that you're working on, or you being that person for someone else. Go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, and get my July 2026 star report that has all the dates plus written information on what you can expect. Also has my retrograde resource report and also eclipse resource report if you want to get a sneak peek into where those eclipses are hitting for you. You can get all of that when you put your name and email in Unleash. You get the welcome letter, and all of the things I listed will be linked there. If you want to understand what these outer planet movements are doing for you, we have new transits of all of our outer planets in recent times. If you want to see what the themes are for the long term for you, go to anniebclarity.com, Annie the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. If you are late degree Cancer with birthdays around July 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements of Cancer, I suggest you listen on to the next report for Leo, as that will add a different dimension for you cuspy people of your astrological picture. If you are timestamping to another report, or if this is the final part that you're viewing, then I will see you in my next report. Be on the lookout for my very detailed new moon and full moon reports later in this month for those moon events. Hello, Leo friends. Welcome to your time where we look at the sky through the Leo lens. It's a very exciting time when you've got Jupiter, the great benefic, bringer of luck and optimism, in your sign now. For the next year, you also have Venus, the other benefic, moving through your sign for a shorter period of time. These are all bringing a lot of focus on your identity, your vibrance, your vitality, how you express yourself, who you want to be when you grow up, at whatever age you are. A lot of us, no matter what age we're at, may still be figuring that out. And you might get a little bit of information about that. But do remember, everything is through this Mercury retrograde lens. So we've got Mercury retrograde glasses on now. And everything that we've talked about, all of these outer planet transits, these amazing connections with the outer planets, Neptune and Pluto and Uranus and Jupiter, all of that is through the retrograde lens. The new Jupiter transit through the retrograde lens, Venus in your sign through the retrograde lens, Mars lighting up, Gemini with lots of ideas, great air combination for your fiery Leo, making you want to diversify with your interests and your activities. All of that, even the Sun and Hygeia and Mercury retrograde in Cancer, all of that Cancer energy in that 12th house of your psychological space, specifically for Leos, all of that's through the lens of the Mercury retrograde. So I'm just going to give that layer, and then we'll go a little deeper into these other pieces. When Mercury is in retrograde, it's a time when the tides are going in, and this is a beautiful time for dealing with what is. A lot of times in life, we're trying to not deal with what is, and it's a little bit easier to deal with what we want things to be when the planets are direct. That time's coming. August 8th through August 31st is our last big open window before the end of the year. Free from personal planet retrogrades, because we do have a Venus retrograde looming and another Mercury retrograde to follow this cycle still in the latter part of the year. So for July, the tides are coming in. We wait to see what comes to visit us. Maybe it's some jellyfish. Maybe it's some garbage. Maybe it's a message in a bottle or whatever it is. We're on the shore waiting for things to come to us, and we are dealing with what comes. The squeaky wheel, the appliance that needs to be fixed, the person who has problems that we can help, whatever it is. They're coming to us, and we have to deal with those things. That time that we spend of having the bigger vision, going to take action on that bigger vision, creating something for the future, that can all happen on paper and in conversation and in thought right now. And it will, because all these outer planets are activating it. Eclipse season has begun. We've got 2 eclipses in August. Those eclipses is a Leo eclipse. So we know change is looming for Leo. We know you've been in a process of this happening. But right now, you're taking in the information and you're holding it, you're working with it. The Cancer's making you reflect upon it. Mars and Gemini is making you research it or talk to other people about it. And you're waiting until those tides turn. So July 23rd, Mercury goes direct. You'll start to feel the awkwardness of that shift. As the month progresses, gets to the end, you'll start to feel a little bit more clarity about what to do with these outer planet insights, what to do with the eclipse changes and news that are already starting to come in, what to do with these shorter term transits that are just passing through. And then once you get into August 8th, these tides reverse. And now it's not that you don't have to deal with things that come to you, but there's more bandwidth for doing things how you want them to be, making them as if they've come true, and actively taking action on what you want to create and what you want to be next. So those tides are going to turn. You'll feel it starting to happen towards the end of the month. But until then, just remember you're looking at everything through this lens. So if you've got a great idea, probably more information is going to come in. If something seems to be happening and looks a certain way, maybe it might be reversed here in a couple of weeks. This is an absolutely perfect month for getting together with friends, groups of people that feel like-minded, that you share a common purpose with. The Gemini placements are activating your house of Aquarius, as is the July 29th Aquarius full moon at 6 degrees, which is actually happening in your house of relationships, but it's just reiterating this story of Aquarian teamwork and community. So this is a really great time to be sharing ideas, talking about ideas, but to not give away some things that need to be nesting. Okay, so Cancer and this 12th house focus specifically for Leo is telling us this. You will benefit so much from other people at this time and interacting with them in meetings of the minds and helping others and them helping you and you gathering with them. But there are certain things you've got to keep a little closer to a smaller group or within yourself that are incubating. As the sun moves into Leo, as Mercury gets out of retrograde, out of Cancer, moves into Leo, this is all happening, as the month progresses and as we get into August. This incubation period, this will be coupled with the Mercury retrograde cycle shifting. You will be moving from incubation into action, but don't jump the gun. Okay, it's very important for everyone to know, but especially Leo at this time, because we're moving into your season. We've already started your 1 year of a 12-year cycle with Jupiter, and unfortunately that started in the midst of retrograde. So any things that are starting to come up now have a little bit of muting to them and a little bit of not really sure where that's going to go. There's a spark of something, but there are some delays. There's this kind of covering that's dampening a bit, but it's getting ready to rip roar, and you'll feel the change as the month progresses. But you will have to tend to your emotional needs, your inner needs, your psychological space, your fears, the addictions. You will have to cater to this right now. The retrograde in Mercury in Cancer is demanding it. The sun there, Hygeia, is about being proactive. Hygeia is a star goddess who is the daughter of a doctor who ruled medicine, and she is all about prevention, washing your hands to prevent the infection instead of her dad treating the infection. Cleanliness, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, purification. You're going through a purification and purging cycle this month to get ready for your shiny new rebirth. Very exciting. And that's true for all Leo placements on some level, not just sun placements and not just rising placements. So as you're doing this purging, this clearing out, this purification, the days around the 14th hold special value because of that 22-degree Cancer new supermoon. And there is a new beginning. It's quiet. It's internal. It's close to you. It could be in family and housing and ancestry and, real estate. It could be in your personal sacred space, in your psychological space. There's something is brewing. In fact, a lot is brewing, and you're getting ready to rip roar. So it's really exciting. But it might be a good idea to write down the ideas that you have. Uranus being involved in a lot of these nice aspects that we talked about in the intro are going to make a lot of things fleeting. And the power of this time with all of this outer planet energy syncing together in a very magical way, with most of it being super positive, is an exciting force. And you can do things, you can take actions, but we have to keep in mind that lens. But, just write it down, get a plan, strategize, brew, and then get your big push out. It's coming, okay? That full moon in Aquarius at the end of the month, I'll go into that more in its own report that's time-stamped as you get closer to that time, but just a little sneak peek, it is going to be conjunct Pluto. That's going to bring a lot of intensity to that full moon, and that is in your house of relationships, so something big is brewing there. Something that has to be said, something that has to be done. You're gathering information, you're waiting for it to come in, and there's some sort of big announcement, big elucidation, big discovery, big coming from the hidden zone being pushed out. Or there could be some big event or something that's binding you to someone in a very karmic, important way. If you want all of the dates I talked about in the intro and in the Leo specific report written down in one report, along with a very long written report, it's not super long, but it's very, very detailed, about this month that I wrote myself, no AI, go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, put your name and email address in there. The welcome letter will have not only your access to the July star report, but it will also have the link to your VIP retrograde resource page to make the most of this month. I have written extensively through published books and many blogs and many videos on the retrogrades. This is one of my areas of focus. And you will also get my sneak peek of the eclipse resource page when you go to anniehelpsyou.com and click on Unleash. If you're wondering what these outer planets mean as long-term themes for you, go to anniebclarity.com, Annie the letter B, clarity.com, and see my outer planet transit report personalized to your chart. Again, content made by me. And if you want to learn astrology with content made by me, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. If you are a late degree Leo placement, so birthdays like August 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23-degree Leo placements through the rest of the sign, then keep listening on for the next report for Virgo, because your very late degree friends will benefit from both the Leo and Virgo reading, so you can just listen straight through. If you're time stamping off to another placement, or you're done with this report for now, look out for my detailed new moon time stamped report coming out closer to the 14th, and my detailed full moon time stamped report coming out closer to the 29th. I'll see you in my next report. Bye. Hello, Virgo friends. All right, so let's get into the Virgo specific lens of the stars this month in July. This is for Virgo sun, moon, rising, any other Virgo placement listen for. We're going to have a layer here for you in what I'm discussing now. If your birthday is September 15th through the rest of the sign, or have a 23-degree placement of Virgo through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Libra report, because you cuspy friends will benefit from both readings, and you can just listen on straight through here in this time-stamped version, because Libra will follow this one. All right, so let's talk about the short-term players. Now that we talked about some of those long-term aspects that are just really drilling in some major new energy, let's talk about the flow of the personal planets. We've got Mars in Gemini, bringing some variety seeking into your actions, into your interests, and also into your work and career, your employment. If you're not employed or don't need to be employed, this can also have to do with things outside of your personal space, like your place out in the world, or projects or community things. But there's this variety seeking. We've got Ceres there, short term. Uranus and Saturn are there, long term. And of course, Uranus is involved in a lot of those big aspects that are occurring. So you're seeking to innovate in your workspace. You're seeking to try on ideas. You're seeking to do more out in the public sector. This can rule a public servant or political position just as much as it can rule a job or a business, or a relationship with authority figures, or a relationship with a father or parental figure, or you as that parental figure. These things are being activated with some Mars obsessive forces. And again, you're looking for a little diversity, looking for a little bit of getting your fingers in a lot of pudding pies. This is a mutable energy, and it's sort of, it just carries a lot of interest. So you might have a curiosity, some excitement, some educational opportunities that can be, really prominent right now. And this can feed into your place out into the world. It's a really busy, really social energy, and that layer is seconded by the Sun, Hygeia, and Mercury in retrograde, and then direct on July 23rd. Because even though those energies are in Cancer, which we'll talk about in a second, for Virgo, they activate your 11th house, which is the house of Aquarius, which is another social house. So networking and friendships and groups and people that understand you and speak your language, gathering of virtual or online or in-person communities. There's something happening where you're seeking that energy of where you belong and where you, where your opinions and where your interests make sense. And you're seeking these close emotional relationships as well. So there's a big social component, but it may have to be intermittently alternated with rest and inward processing and gathering into your sacred space. And that also could mean that you're gathering a few close friends, people who feel like family or people who you want to get to know better, and having meetings of the heart. This Gemini energy is bringing meetings of the mind, and the Cancer energy is bringing meetings of the heart. So it's a very emotionally connected, very intellectually connected time. The Gemini energy does make a 90-degree angle with Virgo placements, which means that there may be some force that you have to push through within yourself to access, some advancements. And we have to remember at the same time as this is happening, we don't want to push too hard because everything is being seen through the lens of Mercury retrograde now. Mercury will go direct July 23rd, but it won't get out of its post-transit shadow period until August 8th. August 8th is a very big day, and through around August 30th, because that is our last, sizable open window that we have free from personal planet retrogrades until the very end of the year, because Venus will go into retrograde and have a shadow period, a retrograde, post-shadow period, plus we'll have another Mercury retrograde. So that's going to mean that for July, the tides are coming in. It's still the time to dream big from these big aspects with Pluto and Neptune and Uranus and Jupiter, but you might not be in a position to understand what you're supposed to do with them or make decisions or bring out something big based on them until things get a little bit more clear into this August timeframe. So you're researching, you're taking in the information, you're on the shore, letting the tides bring to you the things that you need to attend to. Maybe an appliance that is on the fritz, maybe a relationship that needs attention. Whatever is coming to you most loudly is the thing to focus on. You may be having some big ideas from these big aspects, but if you try to implement too much from them, you're working with incoming tides. So it'll just boomerang back to you, which could work out if you're doing some Uranus experimenting. Gemini energy is also good with that experimentation, but something you're trying to anchor in long term, something you're trying to put a lot of effort or resources into, you might want to wait until this better open window for that and sort of spend the rest of the month taking in information and then move into putting out the information here pretty soon. Another layer that's very critical to understand this month is that we do have 2 eclipses in August. And even though this is July, 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipses, we do get very busy into eclipse season. I'm not going to go a lot into the eclipses now, only to say that the things that came up earlier in the year from the eclipse cycle that sort of died down into rest and, readjustment phase in recent months will be back into their next chapter. Major life-changing news, changing trajectories, possibly stressful, possibly super exciting, just really life-changing things may be coming through here. And it's not going to just be in August that those things happen. So that glass breaking that I tend to see during eclipse time that I've noticed, could be a good sign that you're getting the frazzledness out of your energy field, and it could be protective. All of that is coming with more intensity as the month progresses, and you definitely will see the eclipses really starting to come up. And actually, even though I'm not going to go into this, I'll give you a free resource. you can check out. Go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash. When you get the welcome letter, you'll not only get the July star report that has all the dates that I'm talking about here in the intro and now, but you'll also get my retrograde resource page, and you'll get my eclipse resource page. And there you can deep dive into what those eclipses may look like for you if you want to get a sneak peek there. But for now, for the purpose of this report, just know that they are here, they are coming, they are brewing, they are intensifying. You'll feel that kind of unknown energy opening up, that karmic clearing energy where years of karma, lifetimes of karma can clear in an instant, and life can really, really change. So that is happening this month. At the same time as the retrogrades, at the same time as these big aspects. Because Uranus is involved, I'm definitely advising that you write down big ideas that you have or big breakthroughs, because when Uranus is involved, you will sometimes forget them as quickly as they came in. It's fleeting information sometimes. So if you don't write it down with a plan to actualize it when you're in this more solid window for moving forward, it might just kind of come and go. And maybe it will still activate something, maybe it will still do something important, but keeping track of this very fast moving energy might be helpful for when you have this space and the forward moving tides, which will switch August 8th. You'll start to feel them after the 23rd, but it gets a little bit awkward the first few days after Mercury goes direct. You'll feel things getting more clear as the month progresses, but you still may get eclipse news that comes in throughout August and even into September. So just kind of remember the lenses. We've got the eclipse lens, we've got the Mercury lens, all of it's happening at the same time. We do have more sweet aspects compared to salty ones this month, and as I talked about in the intro, 5 of those are major, major sweet aspects. And then those 2 sort of nuisance ones that we've got with Jupiter, maybe overextending, overpromising, overexpecting, overdoing throughout the month. Also have Venus in Leo joining the now Jupiter in Leo for a year. Okay, so Venus will blow by, be pushing through Leo very quickly. Jupiter is going to be there until next July, so we've got a year here. And this is starting to activate Venus in the short term, Jupiter in the long term. Your intuitive space, really kind of getting a handle on the difference between fear and intuition, and getting control or management of your psychic space, your mental space, your intuitive space, to really be able to work with those messages more actively. There may be some clandestine meetings regarding money or love. Venus in this hidden house of the 12th house sometimes brings some very quiet negotiations that are occurring. And those are the kind of things that are great for this type of month with the Mercury lenses on. And as Venus moves into your sign, and as we move into this period of time where the stars are more open for doing your big purchases, your big sales, your big decisions, your big commitments, your big moves, whatever it is, then you'll kind of feel that stuff in the backdrop coming into the forefront. And then, of course, Mercury will move towards Virgo. The sun will get to Virgo next month. And, it will start to be a Virgo party. But right now, you've got a couple of things kind of working in the backdrop, working in quiet. Some things you're not really ready to reveal yet, which is perfect because you'll have more oomph with your big reveals, next month. A couple of dates to note. I mentioned them before, but I'm going to bring them back again. The days around July 14th, we've got a 22-degree new moon in Cancer, bringing some new beginnings in home, family, housing, real estate. Also activating your house of those friendships and teams and your tribe. It's also a great time to make wishes or set intentions for everything involving your home and housing and your inner world and your relationships. When you've got that Cancer new moon. It is also a supermoon, so it will have some more gravitational power. At the end of the month, we've got a 6-degree full moon in Aquarius, and that's going to happen for you in your house of health, pets, your daily office or work dynamics, the things you do every day, your systems. So you may get some information that comes through in those arenas, some stressful events that hopefully push over very quickly. Sometimes those full moons, they just bring it and then it passes. And hopefully some big reveals or some good information comes to you if you are looking for it, or some sense of a direction of moving forward in one of those areas in the weeks to come. Or a big culmination of something you've been working on over the past 13 moons may come to fruition at this time. That full moon is conjunct Pluto, so there definitely will be some intensity to that. And both for the new moon and the full moon, I will be posting separate reports that are time-stamped for each sign with an intro closer to each of those dates. So I will go into much more detail about those as you get closer, so you can get more of an understanding of what's happening there. If you're wondering what the outer planets and how they've changed in recent times means for your personal chart, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie the letter B, Clarity.com, to see my outer planet transit reports, as well as my Clear Karma and Living Your Highest Expression report. You can see the details there. If you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, and you can see my very comprehensive course. All of the content is made by me. I don't use AI for my content creation or my report or other product creation, so you can check that all out there. If you are a 23-degree Libra placement, or I'm sorry, Virgo placement or later, or your birthday, Virgo birthday is September 15th or later, then stick around for the next report in this in order here, because that will be the Libra report. That will be another layer for you late degree placements. And if you're signing off now or going to another timestamp sign, I'll see you in the next report. Hello Libra friends. All right, this is the time where we take the intro that I've already given you and now add more dimensions to the Libra specific experience. We've talked about some of those long-term aspects that are coming and bringing massive change and opportunities. Now let's talk about these short-term players that'll blow through here pretty quickly and what they can bring for you. First, let's focus on all this Gemini energy. Two of these planets, Sedna and Uranus, are there long-term. Uranus is involved in a lot of those aspects we talked about, which I will get into more in a second, but for the short term, Ceres and Mars are blowing through the energy of Gemini. This is a fellow air sign, making the best aspect in all of astrology, the trine, bringing harmonious, speaking your language transits, especially as it relates to your energy and how you use it with Mars. And Ceres, the things that you invest in, the crops that you plant for future harvest. And it may be harvest time at this time, and that may be what these aspects are all about for you, or you may be in the process of planting those seeds for future harvests. All of this Gemini energy, short and long term, is diversity seeking. It's interested, it's curious, it's excited, it's going in different directions, it's scattered, but it's making a great aspect for you, and it's lighting up your house of the ninth house, which is adventure, publishing, writing, speaking, teaching, learning, taking information in and putting information out. So you may have an important milestone that comes up from an education perspective. If you are seeking to publish your work or do something very significant with launching content, your time has almost come. We've got a little bit longer just into August before the retrograde energies sort of wane and we move into that forward moving tide piece here in August. That is very exciting. We only have one more time like this where we're free of personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods at the very end of the year. So as you're brewing here in July, get ready to use this August launch point that we talked about before, between around August 8th and August 30th. Okay, but you're brewing, and this full moon at the end of the month is going to be in Aquarius, again, fellow air sign. So there's a lot of air activity. This is very, very, very exciting for Libra placements. And the very end of the month is enough out of the retrograde madness that some very significant steps can be taken towards whatever it is you're working on. And the full moon will happen in your fifth house of Leo, which is your creativity, your relationship with children, your love, your romance, your bucket lists. So at the very end of the month, you may find yourself embarking on something very creative or very exciting for the sake of pleasure. And then that also ties into all of this air energy, which can be sending you packing for some sort of actual adventure or some sort of escapade with writing or speaking or some other word sharing, taking in information or putting it out. Now, even though we have a lot of this air energy, we are actually in the time of Cancer. We're talking about the sun perspective. Mercury has also been retrograde, will be retrograde until the 23rd of July. Hygeia is there. So we do have those emotions, those strong, sentient connections, and that focus on home and family and housing in your inner world. And you will notice that some emotional things may come up, for better or worse. These are in a square for Libra. So some of the emotions may be a little bit hard to get through or to mentally process, either for better or worse. Again, sometimes something could be so exciting or could be bittersweet, but there are some sorts of milestones coming in your place out in the world. And with the retrograde, you're seriously reconsidering things. You may be reconsidering your job, your work, your retirement time, your retirement plan. You may be reconsidering what your purpose is in the world and your community reputation or your public service. All of this reconsideration process with Mercury will start to yield more fruit and clarity as the month progresses and we get into August. But this is a reconsideration time, redo, try on, experiment sort of situation. And you may be researching and looking into some different things, either with work expansion, business expansion, or something that has to do with your place out in the world that isn't earning money. So if you're retired and you're trying to do a project out in the world, or if you're not retired and you're trying to do a project out in the world, all of this energy is here. Public servant positions, political positions, all of those things where you are out as a leader in the community. Also authority figures, your relationships with them, you as an authority figure or parental figure. There's some stuff going on there. You know, there's the reconsideration process. The sun is showing you what's working and what's not. Hygeia is making you be proactive and making you ask the questions, are the things that you're doing out in the world in a sustainable way for your health and for your family balance? And, you know, this is a very proactive energy where maybe you're not having trouble yet, but you're asking the questions. Am I leading myself on a path that is going to be healthy and that gives me wellness and that gives me balance? And as you figure out the answers to these, you may be ready to take some action here, you know, towards the end of the month and into August. Of course, those eclipses are coming in August as well, and we are feeling them now. So something's getting activated here, and many things may be getting activated here, and it could actually be very life-changing as well. So, you know, there are all these layers of what's going on. At the same time, as Jupiter has gotten into Leo for the first time in 12 years, joining short-term Venus in Leo, activating your house of social interactions, community-based projects, internet-based projects, online and in-person groups, communities, teams, patents, copyrights, trademarks, all of those kind of things where you're designating something as your own, and it could be quite a revolutionary idea that you have. You could be doing something brand new. And, you know, follow your intuition for your timing, but if you need to do something that you want to last a long time, you may want to get your ducks in a row about what you're going to need and wait till we get to that, you know, August 8th or so through the 30th to lock some new things in that you want to be in practice for a long time. Venus here is saying you may find love in your social groups or teams. If you already have your love, this could be something that you do together. Social events with your beloved, or you may have money-making opportunities through networking or friends or something like that. So be on the lookout for that. This is a very zesty energy. Fortunately, for the next year from July 2026 through July of 2027, Jupiter is going to be in a sign that is in a good angle for Libra. Some of the blessings that came in over the last year of Jupiter being in Cancer, expanding your home, expanding your family, expanding your work, your career, those kind of things, they could have been amazing. But because of the tough angle, they may have also been very stressful, very emotional. This movement of Jupiter is much easier on Libra placement. So we have that to celebrate for you for a whole year as we celebrate Venus moving through, making a great angle of opportunity for you as well. Now, along with all of that Cancer energy, on the 14th, we do actually have a 22-degree new moon, which is a super moon, which means that the moon is closer. The moon and the earth are closer, so the gravitational forces can have more effect inside of us and outside of us. Fantastic for planting seeds, even though we can't necessarily take advantage of trying to get things out and moving at this time because those tides are coming in still. You can definitely set intentions, make wishes, kind of envision and feel as if they've come true what it is you're trying to create, so that as the tides turn, you're ready to push those energies out into the world. So remember that Uranus, with a lot of those aspects, is asking for something new, is innovative. It's looking for something interesting, something that is unusual, a fleeting thought, fleeting ideas. And so a lot of that information that's coming in and going out for you at this time, with the teaching, writing, publishing, content creation, whatever it is, also has this spark of Uranus. And that's long term for Libra. So you may be in the process of really innovating in these arenas, but because the energy is fleeting, you may want to write some things down so that you can go back to the information that comes to you, because sometimes it's like a lightning strike where you figure something out and then you forget it just as easily, even though you think there's no way I can forget that. Uranus's nature is such that it can be fleeting. So if you get an idea at this time, if you can hold that idea, then when the energies stabilize into August, you may be able to do something permanent and very forward thinking with this energy. There's one more very, very, very important aspect to talk about, and it's one that I didn't mention as much or at all actually in the beginning, and that is the Sun and Jupiter at 6 degrees of Leo making a conjunction. This is one of the luckiest aspects of the year, and it can bring amazing progress. Oh, and this is actually happening at the same time as that full moon in Aquarius, so it's tying in that beautiful aspect. So the full moon is at 6 degrees. The conjunction with the Sun and Jupiter is also at 6 degrees, and that ties in where it can bring blessings for all signs, especially for fire and air placements like you, and some extra goodies if you are in the beginning of the Libra sign. So if your birthday is basically you're a September born, especially towards the end of September, early October, you may get extra kisses from this Jupiter, lucky Jupiter aspect and this full moon. But don't worry if you're not in that zone. There's enough goodness for everybody to have some of it. But I just wanted to call that out because, that it is going to be a pretty significant aspect to line up for you. So if your birthday is October 15th through the rest of the sign, or your Libra degree placement is 23 degrees to the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Scorpio report, which will follow here in a minute, because your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. So overall, a very exciting month. We do have those strong emotional overtones or undertones that are occurring from the Cancer energy, but there is so much else, including all of this fire in Aries that is increasing the motivation short-term and long-term. So you can prepare for a very busy, active season to come, and this month is your time to reconsider, redo, relook at, prepare, research, so you can get all your ducks in a row for the major outturn of the tides coming soon. If you want to know more about those really sweet aspects, the salty ones plus ones I didn't mention in this report, go right now to anniehelpsyou.com. That's actually the hub where you can find all of my work. If you click on Unleash, that's where you get that star report, information on how to access the July star report, and the August star report will also be in the welcome letter. And you can get my private calendar for the rest of the year to show you those last outer tides going out launch points for the year. If you want to know the details about that one at the very end of the year, if you're trying to plan, or if you want to learn astrology, you can get to all of those things through anniehelpsyou.com. Also, I have outer planet transit reports that will tell you how the outer planets are affecting you for a very long time to come. If you're signing off now, have a wonderful month. If you are a late degree friend and moving over to watch Scorpio, then you can go ahead and listen for that. It will start here in a moment. Bye for now. Hello, Scorpio friends. All right, now let's do the lens for Scorpio in addition to what I talked about already, which if you haven't listened to the intro already, I'm not going to repeat that information about those outstanding, very rare series of aspects. Now we're going to go into some more layers and really focus on the short-term transits. What makes this month very, very unique and fleeting with these short-term energies? The first thing we want to notice is that Mars, which is a co-ruler for you, Ceres are both short-term planets, are joining Uranus and Sedna, which are long-term planets, all in Gemini, in your 8th house of Scorpio. Okay, so when we put all of that together, we see Scorpio level obsession with the mysterious areas of life, psychology, spirituality, money, investing, legacies. And so you may have some major zest and motivation to look into these types of things, wills and trusts and that kind of thing. Now, if you have to put something legally in order and you don't have it as a time sensitive or an intuitive nudge to do it this month is a great month for reviewing, researching, sorting things out, getting together a plan to implement in August. We don't have that many open periods free from personal planet retrogrades this year because Venus retrograde will cloud a lot of the second half of the year between the shadow period and the retrograde itself. So August 8th through 30th is our last long period where we've got some time to get some stuff done without the mischief of Mercury, Venus, or Mars in retrograde or those shadow periods. So this is a good month to get your ducks in a row, to see what the options are, to start asking big questions. And then you'll be coming soon towards the end of the month and into August where you're ready to implement some of these things that you discover. If you try to do it beforehand, unless, like I said, you have an intuitive nudge or it's time sensitive and you're forced to, or it's out of your hands, then you will see why the retrogrades aren't as great to try to make things happen. You don't have all the information yet, especially because add to the fact that the eclipses are coming in August. We're feeling them 4 to 6 weeks before, which means you're feeling them now. So big changes are coming. You're feeling it, but you don't necessarily know what direction it's going in. So if you try to commit to or make something permanent right now, there are going to be many layers of you wanting to make changes to those things. So the Gemini energy is very variety seeking. It's very curiosity based. It's very excited and mutable. It's scattered. It's getting its fingers in a lot of pudding pies. So, you might have a lot of diverse interests that you're deeply researching at this time. And that would be very appropriate. So if you're watching like multiple mystery shows or, there's something having to do with a bunch of different options or a bunch of different things you're considering or looking at. Okay, and of course the power struggles and the, empowerment topics and looking to see where your power is getting given away and how you can be more empowered and help other people to be empowered are going to be big topics whenever you've got short and long-term aspects here. The Sun, Hygeia, and Mercury in retrograde until July 23rd are all moving through Cancer, fellow water sign. So some of the planets at least are speaking your language. We talked about how Mars is speaking your language only in the way that it's your co-ruler, but it's in a sign that doesn't make as much sense to you. But the Sun and Hygeia and Mercury are speaking your language. It's the unspoken language of feeling, of, connection, the lesser seen realm, the intuition. And that's getting very highly activated at this time. And you may be very motivated to take information in through learning or put information out through sharing or teaching. If you're doing something where you're experimenting or trying some things on, this is a great month for that. If you want to launch something, you might want to wait for those August dates when the tides are going out, because right now the tides are coming in. And anything that you try to put out may be very different or shorter term than you expect and may not have as much oomph as you're looking for. But it's great for things like promos, things that are intended to last a short time. But you may be getting or redoing or reconsidering your whole way of looking at life, your whole, viewpoint on life, your perceptions. You may be evaluating your religion or your spiritual views. You may be looking at, some really deep study. This is a very deep study time for Scorpio. And you've had a very long, deep study time with Jupiter moving through Cancer from the middle of 2025 until now. And just now, Jupiter is now changing signs. So you may be ready to implement some things that you've been studying or considering over the last year. And that has started a new 12-year cycle for you, which the retrograde may have called into question, or you may be just polishing some things off to get ready for your big launch. So now Jupiter joins short-term transit Venus in the sign of Leo. Now, this again is, it's a very fiery, it's a very creative, it's a very excited type of energy. And it is going to be accentuated over this time because Venus is there for a short time. But you're working with this energy for the next year, from the middle of 2026 until July of 2027. This is seeking to expand your place out in the world. If you're in the workforce, this could mean expansion to your work, lateral movement, getting a second job or position, starting a business on the side, launching a new business, expanding the current business you have, getting a new job, having a bigger role within the job that you play, or getting recognition within the work that you're already doing. That can happen this month. And you're standing ahead of a long year of that coming up for you. So really be on the lookout for what you want in that area of your life. And if you're not in the workforce, you can be looking at your life purpose, the things you do out in the world, community things, community leadership. This is also a placement for a public servant or even political aspirations or some kind of leadership role. And it does kind of denote actually fame. It's one of the first things I remember about my teacher when she looked at my chart, and she told me a bunch of things right there from the beginning, all of which have come true. And I had some placements in the 10th house, and there were certain angles there, and she said, "Oh, it looks like you're going to be famous." And I was like, "Oh, well, that will be interesting." Right? Well, she saw it. She saw it, and that 10th house aspect was the thing that clued her in. And that's what you're going to have going on. This is expansion of your fame. This is expansion of how you're known. And you'll get to know more of yourself through this, and you'll get to bring out more of yourself through this. Maybe a different dimension, and maybe some different layers of dimensions, because Jupiter, like the Gemini energy I talked about, it's mutable, which likes to get its fingers in a lot of pudding pies. I like to use that example. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a mutable sign, which is the partner of Gemini in our dual experience. It's the polarity there. And so Jupiter really is like interested in a wide variety of things. Whereas Scorpio is into depth, Sagittarius is into breadth. And that's what you're going for in your workspace now. So you may diversify your interests there. And it's a really exciting time, but it is a square for your placement. So in the short term, in the long term, the birthing process that you may want to have for your place out in the world may be a little bit taxing on your emotions and may cause you to really need to draw off of that very vast wellspring of power that you have latent inside of you to push this through. It's the birth of something, and births are not always easy. And that's the kind of energy that you have. But sometimes it's just doing the work of getting it done. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, because of the angle, it is the nature of like a birthing of something, which does have this effort that's involved. So you may have to go a little bit out of your way to do this. Now, in addition to those Cancer energies, we do have on the 14th of July, and the days around the 14th, a 22-degree new moon, supermoon in Cancer. And all of you can get goodies from that, but those of you from around 17 degrees to 27 degree placements, you may get an additional kiss from that new moon. So birthdays from around November 7th through November 17th, November 18th, and the closer to around November 12th, the more you may get an extra special kiss from that new moon. Now, there's a full moon in the days around July 29th, 6-degree Aquarius full moon. This is in your home and family and housing, so expect something notable to come up there. This is, again, a pressure point. I do have to really reiterate that although sometimes pressure points will bring some drama, and this moon certainly could because it's conjunct Pluto. There also can be something profoundly transformational. Pluto rules birth and death, literal and figurative. And with the full moon here in that space, there's some sort of ending to a family dynamic. And maybe it's something that's welcome. Maybe you've been trying to push towards this and your rebirth is coming here. And at the same time, Jupiter is going to be making a conjunction. The sun's going to move along, get to 6 degrees of Leo, join Jupiter in some ways can be extremely lucky, one of the luckiest days of the year. But at the same time, that's going to actually oppose the full moon. I will talk about this more as we get closer to the full moon, but there's something really powerful going on here. And this is activating the cusps of the chart for Scorpio that really activate major change. And so there's something happening in your place out in the world and your place in the home. And there's angles to yourself versus your relationship. So, you're in for sort of your Phoenix moments, as I like to call them, with Pluto having to do with things, because that's your ruler, where there's something being reborn. And of course, when that happens, there's something that you have to let go of. And that may be bittersweet, something that you've tried to create, or it may not be. But that is the energy towards the end of the month. So you may want to leave a little bit of room to work with whatever comes in at that point. You may be ready to birth a creative project, and you will be hearing me talk about this over the next whole year as Jupiter activates your creativity. And because of the placement that Jupiter is in for you as a Scorpio, you may actually be able to monetize those creative efforts. But you may start out the creative efforts just doing art for art's sake, and that would be value enough. But you may figure out how to work this into your work or to make it your work. And there may be something significant that happens at the end of this month that shows you the direction that this is going to come, or that some major milestone along that path will occur. This can also profoundly affect parental relationships, so your parents or even other relatives, or you as a parent. I did talk about a lot of dates. If you want all of those, plus all the rest of the notable dates of the month, go in another browser right now to AnnieHelpsYou.com. Click on Unleash to get my free July star report. I only send out 2 newsletters a month, so you won't be flooded with correspondence from me, but I do write them myself. I am still old school, not letting AI do my work for me, so that you've got some human touch here. On that same page, AnnieHelpsYou.com, you can access my personal private retrograde power calendar in my secret star portal, which will show you that last open window of the year, free from personal planet retrogrades and the shadow periods for your planning purposes, plus some other information. If you want to learn astrology, you can see that there. So you can see everything at AnnieHelpsYou.com. If you are a late degree Scorpio, so birthdays like November 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23-degree Scorpio placements through the rest of the sign, stay around a little longer to get over to the next report coming right after this for Sagittarius, because you late degree friends will benefit from both readings. If you know your other placements, you can use the timestamps to jump to your other placement. And I will see you in the next report. Bye for now. Hello, Sagittarius friends. I'm so excited to dive into the lens of this month of July that is just for us. I'm a fellow Sag Sun with you all. But this is for you if your Sag is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising, or any other Sag placement you're listening for. So we talked about these mega outer planet transits in the intro, how rare it is to have even one aspect between outer planets, but we have 7. And 5 of them are amazing. We do also have another aspect that I'm going to talk about in a little bit here. But first I want to talk about these inner planet, closer, shorter term movements that kind of blow in and they blow out, but we really feel them, and they also make this month unique. All right, so let's look at those for July. The first thing I want to look at is this Gemini energy that we've got going on. Of course, we've got Uranus and Sedna there in the long term. Part of fortune is fleeting. We won't talk about that. And we also have Mars and Ceres moving through Gemini in the short term, which is unique at this time. Anything that goes on in Gemini is of particular importance for Sagittarius, because the duality that's intrinsic in the human experience shows up in the chart with these pairs. So our opposite and complementary pair for Sag is Gemini. We both have mutable energy, both upward spiral energy, scattered all over the place, but yet moving onward and upward. And when we have movements through planets in those signs, there's a common language in the mode of expression. So this month with Ceres and Mars, we've got this excitement and diversity and interest, this curiosity, this getting our fingers in a lot of pudding pies, as I always like to describe Sag and Gemini. You know, this just going into a lot of different things. It's a very busy energy. It's a very nonstop energy. It's a very highly communicative energy. It's a socially interactive energy. It's all things that basically speak one level of the Sagittarius language with this mutable upward spiraling movement. So our efforts are going to be very scattered at this time, and we do have to watch out for that. We will be able to hone in a little bit more as the energies get more into Leo, because that is a fixed energy. We do have Venus there, which I'll get to in a second. But it's, you'll see the feeling that as Mars kind of moves along and gets out of this spiraling energy, that we're really just able to concentrate more. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But for now, we have this spinning out, and that's really exciting because it will have a lot of interactions. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of movement, a lot of traveling around, near or far, and a lot of taking in information and putting out information. If you're a Sag who is a writer or a speaker or who wants to be, this month is amazing for that. And you may find that this August 8th through 30th window that we are getting ready to go into, this is a retrograde month, as I talked about in the intro, but we're preparing for something in August. I know I'm preparing something very big, and this is a month where you're getting all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted as it relates to communication-based projects or education-based projects. So things involving your siblings may feature strongly, or aunts or uncles or cousins or other relatives, because Gemini also rules those placements. And vehicles or communication devices may come up strongly if you do have to make a big purchase and you do have say in when that happens, meaning it hasn't gone kaput yet. You may want to align with these energies in August, where in July you're doing the research to figure out what phone or what car or what bike or whatever it is that you want, so that you can strike when the iron is hot here in August for forward moving energy with more clarity of contracts and loans and things like that if you need to borrow money or spend money. But this is a good research month, and you may find yourself obsessing about research or taking in information or putting it out. Mars tends to go to bring the focus of obsession, and you will see that at this time. You will also see this obsessive force in your 7th house of relationships. So you're very focused on other people right now, interacting with them, helping them, being helped by them. It's just a very friendship oriented, neighborly connections, other people where you're having these meetings of the minds, and you're sharing your ideas, you're listening to their ideas, and it's a very dynamic sort of energy. At the same time, we also have the Sun, Hygeia, and Mercury in retrograde until the 23rd, all in Cancer. Now, as I've talked about many times, and I will continue to talk about, Cancer has so many wonderful energies. Oh gosh, intimate connections, close family, beautiful, times, housing, homes, real estate, your inner world. These are such critical parts of our being, and this month is going to accentuate all of it. Jupiter has just left this space. We'll get on to where it's going next. But Mercury retrograde is bringing up things from the past about home and family and housing, nostalgia, contacting people or them contacting you, thinking about things from the past, reflecting, sharing, doing photo projects, things like that. And it can be very, very beautiful. And at the same time, it douses our fire. So you've got Gemini zesting things up, you've got Leo energy zesting things up, but this emotional energy can really redirect some of those creative forces into nurturing care or your emotional space or holding space for other people. So sometimes, it can be you can get a little bit bogged down at this time. I think in general, it's a nice balance or counterbalance to all the Gemini energy, which can be very spinning. So working together in tandem, it can be a nice balance where you've got your home and family and housing connections and your nostalgia and your sensitive things and your reflective space, while you've got this active talking, sharing, and they're doing a dance, and that's a wonderful dance. So I think we can frame it as it's helping to create balance, but do know at the same time that some of your fire might be put out by this. And if you're inflamed, or literally or figuratively, this can actually soothe those flames. If you're getting reckless and out of control, what Sag would do that, right? This water can come on all sides and do that. I notice I have 9 placements in Sagittarius, plus a fire rising. And I notice I draw a lot of water people to me. And although I have lots of other connections with my fellow fire people and air people, I do notice that I do tend to have these watery things. And for a while, I was, not understanding because I felt very doused by that. But now I understand. I actually need to have my fire managed sometimes in ways that I can't always do myself. And so you may notice that about other people now. You may be reconsidering these things with the retrograde. Now, specifically for Sagittarius, all of this Cancer energy, including that new moon in the days around July 14th, that 22-degree super moon in Cancer, all of this is in the 8th house for Sagittarius. This is your deep connections, your in-laws, your parents, your spouse, the money things. That's a big thing where it's shared resources, wills and estates, legacies, trusts, hidden mysterious realms, your psychological space, your spiritual space, mysterious placements, anything, a mystery movie to a mystery you're researching to a mystery you're trying to sort out within yourself. That space is all lit up at this time by the sun, and it's being reconsidered and looked at with Mercury retrograde. Now, we did just go through a long time, as I said, of Jupiter there from the middle of 2025 to the middle of 2026. We had Jupiter expanding that space. And now Jupiter has moved into fellow fire sign Leo. I'm not going to stop talking about this for a year because it's our ruler, first of all. And second of all, it's only 3 years out of 12 years. And those are spaced out by several years in between that we get Jupiter in a fire sign. We've gone through the best and the worst of the highly emotional water Jupiter energies over the last year. And now we're ready to soar. It's highlighting our 9th house of Sagittarius, and that teaching and speaking and writing and publishing that I talked about with these Gemini energies is getting a further reiteration for a whole year with Jupiter in this placement. It's one of your best times to finally write that book, finally create content, finally take that education course, finally do that immigration thing you want to do, or get a job in a different country, or do a year seeing the world, or whatever it is. This is a very exciting time full of so much creative forces that you have no idea. You may have already been starting to feel it, because I do notice that at least 3 months before Jupiter changes signs, that it starts brewing. I started feeling this very strongly in the middle of May. And, you can track this: May developing, June developing, into July. It's roaring. So we'll go through a year of Jupiter trining all of our Sag placements. And the more Sag placements you have, the more you'll get the trines. As I mentioned, I have a bunch, so I'm pretty excited about this. If you're not sure where your placements are, just run a free birth chart online. And then you can see, do you have other Sag placements? Maybe you're going to have a bunch of these trines this year as well. But even if you have just the one, it's still a really big time. And this is our ruler in our house in a fellow fire sign. So it's very exciting. And we also have Venus in Leo, adding love and romance and money and self-esteem and confidence into this picture. If you have to launch something book-based, writing-based, teaching, learning-based, August is going to be amazing. I know that I am working on something. We'll see how it goes if it winds up manifesting to happen then. But I'm using this energy not only because we don't have a lot of open energy for the year, but also because and that's for everybody. It's a good opening point for everybody. But for fire signs, we're going to have a bunch of trines in August. So this July is like this finishing things up point. This is the research, the getting the I's dotted and the T's crossed, the editing, the researching, the preparing, taking in the information we need for this very vigorous launch out when the tides turn, and you will start feeling that towards the end of the month that the tides are shifting. Okay, so at the end of the month, in the days around July 29th, we have a 6th degree of Aquarius full moon. It is conjunct Pluto. That is going to bring a lot of intensity. I will post a report as we get closer to both the new moon and the full moon to give more information about what to expect from those moon placements, but I'll give you a little tidbit here. That full moon's going to be intense. Fullness, completion, fruition, drama, coming to the energies of Aquarius, friendships, an internet-based project, trademarking, patents, things like that. Friendships, teamworks, community, projects. Conjunct Pluto, something is being born or something is transitioning on. That could be literal, but a lot of times it's figurative. You're moving into a different stage and something is opening up. Now, fortunately for Saggies, this 6th degree Aquarius energy is actually in a great angle for Sag placements. And this is true for all Saggies. But if you're an early born Sag, so our Scorpitarius friends, November born Sagittariuses, you may get an extra kiss from this full moon at the end of the month. Something else very important that's happening at the same time, July 29th, Jupiter and the Sun make their yearly transit, their conjunction, which in some cases can be one of the luckiest days of the year. Since we've got this Pluto thing going on, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but that doesn't stop this layer of energy from occurring. But that Jupiter-Sun conjunction will actually oppose the full moon and this Pluto conjunction here. So this is at the end of the month, something really big is going on. And all of this is happening in that 9th house that I've been lauding for us, of the teaching and the learning and the immigration and the different countries and the different cultures and the international travel and the writing and all of that. So something is brewing. Now, by that time, we have gotten out of a lot of the Mercury retrograde energies. We still got, about 10 days or so before we're out of it completely at that point. But things may be moving along behind the scenes with something that you're working on, at this time. I'm giving you a lot of dates in this report between the intro and the timestamp part. If you want to know all of the main aspects of the month and what you can expect from them, go in another browser right now to AnnieHelpsYou.com. Click on Unleash and get that July star report. You'll also get early access to the August star report, which that's going to be a very big month for Sages. You can also see my secret star portal, where if you want to find out that last open period of the year, if you're trying to plan for things and you can't quite get it done by August. Also, if you want to learn astrology with me, all of those things plus other free resources are on that site, AnnieHelpsYou.com. If you are a late degree Sagittarius, birthdays around December 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Sag placements through the rest of the sign, stick around right here. The next one coming up is the Capricorn report, and that will also be for you cuspy people. It will be another dimension of your astrological picture. If you're timestamping over to another part of the report for another one of your placements, great, I'll see you there. If you're finished with this for now, keep an eye on my channel for the new moon and the full moon reports, also with intro and timestamp for each sign, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye for now. Hello, Capricorn friends. Now's the time for us to dive into the next layer of the July picture, specifically for Capricorn. This adds to what I talked about in the intro and is happening at the same time. We're going to talk more about short-term transits. I may tie in a couple of longer-term things or things I mentioned before, but really this is about what is making this month unique from the perspective of quick-moving planets that are closer to us and what energies they bring up and what areas of life they accentuate for Caps. This is for you if Capricorn is your sun, moon, rising, or any other Cap placement you're listening for. This is going to be one of your layers. And if you are a later degree Capricorn friend, so birthdays like January 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Cap placements through the rest of the sign, stick around to the end when it turns over into the Aquarius report, because your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. All right, so let's talk about Mars and Ceres to start. So we do have Sedna and Uranus in Gemini for the long term. Uranus is one of the planets involved in those many, many aspects, outer planet aspects that we have going on: surprise, ingenuity, things out of the blue, fleeting type of things you may want to write down because as big as they are, you may forget them. And Mars is here with Ceres in a short-term way, joining this Gemini parade. Now, Gemini is a language that pure Capricorn energy does not understand well. They're at an awkward angle, and they're very different. Where Capricorn is unidirectional and driven with tradition and learning from the past in order to advance, Gemini energy is all about diversion and diversity in learning and teaching and information coming in and information coming out. And not necessarily ambitious unless it's in the moment. We'll say in the moment ambitious rather than building ambitious. And so you're going to have a lot of this going on. Things that are pulling you in different directions. This is an upward spiral. It's a mutable energy. It's scattered. It's distracted. It's busy. It's social. There's a lot of movement. And Mars rules movement in many ways. So you will feel that. All right. You'll be running all over the place, interacting with people. And it may be a little ungrounding for you. Ceres is there, wanting to plant seeds for future crops. That is the symbol, that it is the device that is used to cut the grain. And that's what Ceres is very much about. It's about nurturance. It's about crops and planting for future and current sustenance and reaping the rewards of past work. So you will see all of this sort of culminating in this 6th house of your daily work. This could be office dynamics or office experiences. This could be your business if you're home and self-employed. This can be things having to do with animals or pets. And this is also your health and wellness. Wherever Mars goes, obsession flows. That's my little saying for Mars. So you'll notice these things. You may get supercharged, jazzed up to get your workspace worked out. Really interested in learning things or in bringing them out or in having multiple projects going on. Really excited to do some things different. And interestingly enough, since Gemini rules the 6th house for Capricorn, as much as we do, I say we because I have my Venus and my moon in Cap, so I'm very Cappy. I also have placements in the 10th house, which is the Cap house, so I have a lot of this along with you. We get on something and we're steadfast and we work on that thing. But we do actually need quite a bit of diversity in our daily work, which leads us to a lot of management roles or other types of roles where we get to do a bunch of things within the job description. And you will notice that about yourself as Capricorn. This is a very common thing, and that's going to be supercharged now. You're going to be looking for these different projects, something unique, even taking a different way to work or driving or, just doing something differently, adding some infusion into your time. And with the Mercury retrograde, it is a time to experiment. So maybe you're trying some different things on. And that may also have to do with your health routine or wellness. It's not necessarily, unless you're intuitively otherwise feeling this, to commit to something long-term in any of these arenas. It's a time for revisiting, considering, researching. But between August 8th and August 30th, which is coming very soon, you will have the opportunity to take any of these things that you really want to go further with and really start to drive them home. All right. So now is a time for cleaning up old energy, preparing something for a launch, dealing with multiple different things going on. And then you're getting ready for your big push out, your big purchases, your big sales. All of that is coming. And you may be buying a new car, a new device, or something like that. And the more you can get that kind of out of that retrograde window, if you can help it, which is into August a bit, the easier it might be, and the more long-term those things may be around. Now, at the same time, we have this very different water energy with the Sun, Hygeia, and Mercury retrograde until July 23rd through Cancer. This is your opposing sign. These are making 80 or 180 degree angles for you, which is this push and pull, bringing up this me versus we type of thing, and this home versus work, and your place out in the world versus your inner world. And you're reconsidering a lot of things about home and family. You're reconsidering things about real estate or your past or your ancestry. It's a fantastic time to delve into things with your past, your genetics, or even places that you lived and looking them up on Google Maps or whatever. Just this really deep research process into your roots. Specifically for Capricorn, this also accentuates your 7th house, which is your house of partnerships. So you may be seeing people you haven't seen in a while, finding an urge to call them, getting blasts from the past with people contacting you. If you've got something important you have to do this month, you may be better off going back to old things you did, old contacts that you made, and and working that retrograde energy while it's there. That's something that retrograde's good for. And if you want to give an animal a forever home, and you found the perfect animal, just follow your flow, because sometimes the divine has a different timing than the one that we're setting in motion, right? But if you are trying to have more clarity about the decision around a pet or working with animals, you might want to kind of do your research and planning now and kind of push into August for that. But like I said, if the perfect pet comes in, it doesn't mean you ignore it. It just means that there is some sort of cycle of information that's coming in. And that is very important to know about this month. Between the retrograde energy and also the eclipses that are in August, but we're feeling and already seeing results and outcomes and news from now, because 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipses, we start to see the eclipse season heat up. You might not have all the information yet about the animals, about the relationships, about the home and family and housing, about your inner world, about whatever your projects. More information is coming, and you will notice that if you just kind of hold off, there's probably going to be something that changes it or makes it easier or goes in a different direction with what you're doing now. But you'll have more clarity once that cycle kind of works itself out. Now, Jupiter has been in this 7th house of relationships since the middle of 2025. So you've had a year from the middle of 2025 till the middle of 2026 of expanding that relationship space, different friendships, different groups, going deeper into relationships that you already have, spending more time talking to friends or other, acquaintances, or expanding your personal romantic relationship or relationships with people really close to you. And now Jupiter is going to move into deepening those relationships even more, deepening those relationships with people with money and your resources and your, kind of the entrenchment that comes from the merging of resources beyond just the relationship itself. And that's what, between now, the middle of 2026 and July of 2027, there's this expansive time. One of the most exciting things about this placement is that it can bring money from the ethers. Jupiter moving through the 8th house can make you more lucky. And again, this is for a year. This is getting activated, and you may have already felt it even. April, May, June, it started brewing, and now it's getting solid. It's there now. Winning money, inheritances, getting a loan that you need, paying off debt, getting scholarships, finding money. I can't tell you how much money I've found or had come to me weirdly during some sort of Jupiter aspect like this or a Jupiter transit like this. You can be very lucky in sweepstakes and things like that. Definitely, I'm not encouraging gambling. I think gambling can become a disease and can be very detrimental to individuals and families. But if you've got a little bit of something and you have a nudge, this could be a time where you're supercharged for a good outcome, as long as it's, a healthy engagement with that. And there may be some strategic risk taking over the next year, and you may be investigating that now. But if there is going to be a small risk, a calculated risk to be taken, that window into August may be better, around the 8th through the 30th. So now you would be doing the investigating and the sort of narrowing down and the sort of building the story of what you may do with that project. It may be a time to take a chance on your dream. And following the alignment here that we're about to step into, you could really activate this. An important date along those lines is going to be the days around July 29th. That's going to be not only when we have the 6th degree of Aquarius full moon, which is for us, Cappies, this is a money moon. It's conjunct Pluto, major, big deal. Something major being elucidated, something ending, something beginning. It's, can be, Pluto rules birth and death and transformation, literally, but very often it's figurative. The ending of something. Something is about to be born. And at the same time as that full moon is happening, Jupiter and the Sun are going to join at 6 degrees of Leo in this 8th house of other people's money. Also investments. You may be making an investment at this time, and you're diving into that. And honestly, from being an investor from the time I was 8 years old, maybe I've mentioned this, I know I've mentioned it if you've heard it before, or if you're new to my work. My dad started teaching me to read the Wall Street Journal when I was around 8. I started investing in stocks with my chore money when I was around 8, and have had a very rich experience, rich, in money earning, but also rich in meaning diverse experience in the world of investments through being an entrepreneur for 25 years and an investor. And what I have discovered from this process is that the actual best investment we can make is in ourselves. Our capacity to earn money, our capacity to do something that matters or that matters to us is actually one of the most worthwhile investments. And you may discover that at this time. You may be ready to invest in education, invest in your dream, invest in a launch. And this month of July, you're kind of getting a finality to what you may do in August for this launch. So this is a very exciting time. If you're not ready to do the big thing now, you may be planting seeds or having a discovery process about what you may do over the next year. The other date I wanted to mention is the days around July 14th. We have a new supermoon at 22 degrees of Cancer, which is also an energy of new beginning in relationship space, in addition to all that other Cancer energy I mentioned before. Okay, so I talked about a lot of dates in this report between the intro and here. If you want that all written and you want more dates that I haven't given you, go right now to AnnieHelpsYou.com. You can stay here on YouTube and just go in another browser and real quick go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash to get my July and early access to my August star report. You can also see where to get my personal private retrograde calendar to know that last series of open times at the end of the year. If you're planning and you can't get done what you want to get done in August, you can get my Secret Star Portal access to that special calendar. You can learn astrology with me. All of it is at AnnieHelpsYou.com. Your late Cap friend, those people January 15th through the end of the sign, 23-degree placements through the end of the sign, who I'm saying you are cuspy, and Aquarius is an additional layer for you. You can continue listening. That will come on now. If you are jumping over to another timestamp, I will see you there. If you are done for now, be on the lookout for my next reports. I have new moon focuses, timestamps for each sign, full moon focuses, timestamps for each sign, and of course the mega monthly horoscope report and sometimes some other random reports. And I'll see you soon. Okay, bye for now. Hello, Aquarius friends. All right, let's go into the layer that is just for you. Aquarius sun, moon, rising, any other Aquarius placement you're listening for. We're talking about your astrological picture here. We talked about those epic outer planet transits, and so many of them, very rare, in the intro. Besides a brief mention, I'm not going to talk about any of that now. What we're going to focus on is the shorter term transits for these planets that are closer to us, but bring a lot of attention and influence when they are zipping through the different signs and the different houses for each individual sign. So let's start looking at the energy of Gemini. We've got long-term Sedna and Uranus in Gemini. We're not going to get too much into that. Just a reminder that some of the things we're going to talk about for the short-term Mars and Ceres placements are adding to those beautiful aspects with Uranus, things coming out of the blue, surprises, excitement, and this is in a fellow air sign. So all of those nice aspects that have to do with Uranus are bringing things in, zapping them in. Uranus is also your ruler, so there's some level of more significance being carried by those great aspects. And then when we talk about Mars, as I always like to describe Mars, wherever Mars goes, obsession flows. And Ceres, this is the crop planter and harvester. So there are many seeds that are being planted. There's much excitement. There's much diverse focus in your area of your creativity. And this is a storyline that's going to continue into the long term because of Jupiter's movement through Leo over the next 12 months. And Leo rules the 5th house where the Gemini placements are for you now. Okay, so we've got multiple layers of your creativity being activated, of this world that you have within you that wants to be birthed, either as a human child or children that you've already been nurturing or who have been born through you or that you'd care for. This energy of the child, of your inner child, of your creativity, of your passions, of your pleasures, of romance and true love are all being activated by these beautiful aspects and this movement. There's a lot of focus. Like I said, there's a lot of obsession. There's a lot of very, amplified energy here. And Mars is going to bring a lot of power and vitality. these can be triggers for births of humankind and also of the creative babies. And this is what's being accentuated. There's something in you that wants to be shared that is very much yourself, that is part of your imprint and your vibration. And either things are starting to come out now, you're preparing for that big launch, maybe between August 8th and August 30th, when those stars will be really ripe and ready with the tides going out, or something that's a longer term game, or something you've done before that now these aspects and transits are coming to fruition. For all of July until around August 12th, you're going to have Mars making trines with your Aquarius placements. Okay, so trine is the most fabulous aspect in all of astrology. It can bring harmonious outcomes. And just in general, the stars are speaking your language. This is the mental space, the meeting of the minds, ideas, thoughts, connections, social connections with other people, and doing things that really intellectually stimulate you or, get you really worked up. And so you've got that happening. Gemini does lend itself to a lot of spoken or written word, writing, publishing, speaking, teaching, learning, educational projects. So you may be reaching an educational milestone, or someone close to you may be reaching an educational milestone, or you may be ready to start one of those things in August and you're kind of getting in the preparation process now. So all of that's happening at once. It's speaking your language, it's flowing, it's harmonious, it's smooth. At the same time, we've got a lot of emotional energy between the Sun, Hygeia, Mercury in retrograde until July 23rd, really taking up a lot of bandwidth with family, home, housing, your ancestry, your roots. And this retrograde is making there be a reconsideration process in those arenas. Maybe you're going back to a place that used to be home. Maybe you're reconsidering what you want home to look like. But it is very important to remember that if you can help it, and sometimes we can't, and then we just have to go with the flow, but if you can help it, it may not be best to make decisions about the things that you're reconsidering now, because the stars are not conducive to clarity on these things, first of all. Second of all, anything you decide may not have as much oomph as they will if you take action on them once you get into August, especially August 8th through 30th. And also the eclipses are very much influencing those 2 August eclipses that we'll talk about more in the August report, but they are influencing now, 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipses. We're feeling them. So there are some major changes, including a Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle at play. So you may be having massive changes within how you present yourself to the world, who you are, what you're bringing. Your relationship space is all in this mega flux, and you don't have all the information yet. So it's just kind of back to that research, reconsider, feel into, experiment mode for this month. And then towards the end of the month, you'll feel those tides shift as we open up into the next big whatever is going to come from this. Jupiter now, as of July, has moved into Leo, joining short-term Venus Leo energies. This is very important to you because this is opposing your Aquarius placements. On our planet of duality, we have these experiences of opposites, things that are opposite and sometimes complementary, that go together but kind of pull each other, in the other direction. And you've got that going on whenever there's a Leo transit. So love, money, confidence, relationships, lighting up your house of relationships, making that beautiful and bright with potential for the short term, and Jupiter there for the long term. Your relationship space is going to go through a 12-year expansion. Once 1 year for the last 12 years and for the next 12 years, massive expansion, and you are beginning that now. This is an additive energy. So if you have met your divine person, your partner, either in love, romance, business, whatever, then you may add to it and become engaged or move in together, or and then have kids or get married, or whatever is additive for you. Jupiter's wanting to add to your relationship space, and Venus is there, and that's between now, in the middle of 2026, through July of 2027. It's also this zest, this creativity, this romance, this passion that's accentuating this space. So you have a really great chance to enhance the love you have or find new love. Now, if you're looking particularly this month, it may be better to look at people you have interacted with in the past and reconsider them or try again. For very new people who you've never met before, that may be better in August if you're hoping for some long-term potential from that. But right now, it's a chance to review and go back over things you considered before, and maybe look at things a little differently. Maybe someone who was a friend may turn into more. Maybe someone who was a partner may turn back into a friend. There's a lot of flux that's going on in your relationship space while there is this expansion at play. Note of a very powerful sequence that's occurring in the days around July 29th, where you have your full moon. We usually only get one full moon a year unless it's a blue moon, which this one is not. And it's conjunct Pluto. I'll talk more about that as we get closer. I'll post a report specifically on that. But for our purposes here, this is a big one. Fullness, completion, fruition, drama, coming to everything that is important to you. Your Aquarius world, your physical body, your physical health, your, way that you present yourself to the world. Also, those friendship, social circles, internet-based projects from the Aquarian perspective, community-based projects, and Pluto's there. Birth, death, transformation, rebirth, literally and figuratively. Very, very big things happening there at the end of the month. Then at the same time, on the same day, the sun will come and join Jupiter at 6 degrees of Leo and oppose that full moon. But Jupiter and the sun on its own, that conjunction that happens around every year, is one of the luckiest of the year. But combined with this Pluto full moon, Pluto conjunction with the full moon, it's a little bit of a wild card, but there's some major intensity. Something is coming out, something is becoming elucidated. Now, both for the Uranus transits and this full moon thing and the Jupiter-Sun lineup, all Aquariuses can see effects from this and actively utilize these energies. However, those of you who are in the early Aquarius zone, so January-born Aquariuses, 0 to 10 degree Aquariuses, you all may have an extra layer of intensity or notice this more because they're all happening in those early degrees. In the days around the 14th, we've got that new supermoon at 22 degrees of Cancer, adding to this Sun, Hygeia, Mercury retrograde flow. And so the inner world, your emotions or other people's emotions, really strongly highlighted. And this is a nice balancing layer as we've got all this Gemini energy, which is mutable and kind of dizzying. We've got all this, fixed, powerful Leo energy that's fiery, that's accentuating your air. There's this sort of fire-air party this month, but it is actually Cancer season. And, of course, the Mercury retrograde is there, and the new moon is also there. So there are these emotional overtones or undertones or some kind of layer of these strong, deep emotions and this reflection and this nostalgia. And then, of course, specifically for Aquarius, lighting up that house of health, wellness, your daily routine, your daily work, and pets and animals. So there's a lot of revision and rethinking going on. Is your health regimen sustainable? Are you taking care of your health? Are you managing stress? Do your pets need attention? Are you considering getting an animal? All of these things are things you're thinking about now that you may start to implement here towards the end of the month or into August after this very strong reflection process. All of your relatives are being accentuated this month with the Gemini energies. That's everyone besides your parents and kids. The Cancer energies are getting everyone with your parents and kids and other people that feel like family. So this could be a very strong familial bonding or working out issues type of a time. And in the middle of the month around that new supermoon, there's a chance to plant seeds for your perfect home life, your perfect, nothing is perfect in life, but getting as close as possible to your ideal home, family, housing, and healing space, as well as your health regimens. I talked about a lot of dates this month. If you want to get those written down instead of going back to write them down and get more information than I've given even in the intro and your Aquarius stamp time, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com right now in another browser and click on Unleash to get your July star report. You'll also get the August star report early. There you can also see in my secret star portal my 2026 retrograde direct power planning calendar, so you can capture those few dates at the end of the year that will be good and open for making big decisions if you can't pull some things through in August. So you can check that out at AnnieHelpsYou.com in the Secret Star Portal. If you want to learn astrology with me, you can click through to learn astrology with me and, of course, pick up your star report. If you're a late degree Aquarius, So birthdays like February 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23-degree placements through the rest of the sign, you are cuspy to Pisces, and you will benefit from additionally listening to the Pisces report. So you can stay on here, and that will follow here in a couple of seconds. If you're time stamping to another report, I'll see you there. If you're finished for now, look out for my new moon, full moon, monthly horoscopes on my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. Hello, Pisces friends. Now is time for us to get into the layer that's just for you, Pisces sun, moon, rising, whatever Pisces placement you're listening for. So we talked about those outer planet transits, how rare they are, and what you may expect from them. I may touch back to mention a few things here and there with that, but mostly what we're going to do is just focus on these inner planet transits, the ones that zip through, but that really give each month their flavor of uniqueness with the combinations of these short-term transits. So we've got Mars and Ceres in Gemini, bringing a lot of diversity seeking, curiosity, interest, writing, projects, draw to teaching and learning. I always say wherever Mars goes, obsession flows. You may find that you're just voraciously taking in information or putting it out, working on an educational project, getting ready for a launch. As I mentioned before, this may not be the best month for a launch if you can help it. August 8th through August 30th is going to be when the tides are going out, and you may want to get your ducks in a row for then. You're building, you're figuring things out. The retrograde is helping you reconsider, get things sorted so that you can get your oomph in your launch or your big decision or your big purchase or your big whatever is going to be coming here soon. But right now you're gathering information. And specifically for Pisces, you may be gathering information about home, housing, real estate, family, your roots. You may be doing a genealogy. You may be investigating genetic things, either for prevention or for healing. So you're diving deeply into this, and Ceres is either planting seeds for future crops. This is the symbol of this scythe that cuts the wheat, and that it represents, this star goddess represents this harvesting of information or harvesting of seeds that were planted from before that have turned into a crop, or to plant future crops for your sustenance. You're asking those questions about sustenance in your home, family, and housing, and your inner world. Now, these are air placements, so you're thinking, you're talking, you're interacting, they're social. And they are making a square to your Pisces placement. So this is a little bit of information overload for you. It's not exactly speaking your language as well as some other placements do. However, it is speaking your language in this one way. Pisces is mutable. Gemini is mutable. There is this all over the placeness or diversity in experience, a richness of experience that comes from this way of being. I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over there, I'm over here. So there's something in it that speaks your language, but it's a little bit too much information for you right now with this. But the obsession is flowing from Mars, and you are taking in things that you will make important decisions from. And remember, the eclipses are bringing in information, events, news. You don't have the full story yet. You'll have a better idea as we get deeper into August. The retrograde is bringing information and recalibration. You're kind of getting your path set here, but you really don't have all the information you need. So just sort of stay receptive to the information that wants to come in. Now, we do have a lot of water energy, and that is speaking your language of connection, of internal reflection, of the lesser seen worlds, of the things that can be felt but not necessarily seen, of that faith space. The sun is lighting up that area. Hygeia is bringing proactive focus there. Mercury in retrograde is getting you to look back on things. And it is home, housing, real estate, as we talked about for Gemini transits. The Gemini transits are accentuating your fourth house, which is ruled by Cancer, but then we also have planets moving through the sign of Cancer. So you've got multiple layers of this home world being lit up. But for Pisces, Cancer energy lights up your fifth house of true love and romance and children and birthing babies or creative babies, your passions, your bucket list projects, the things that make you rise and feel like a sunflower reaching towards the sun with joy. You've got a lot of that going on this month, and that's the perfect angle. The harmonious, sacred geometrical trine that helps you to supersede the material realm into this exalted, all-knowing space. Intuition is very strong at this time. Synchronicity is very strong at this time. And you may have a lot of magic that comes from the past and from your internal reflection. It's beautiful for creating art, poetry, spoken word, whatever it is. There's a lot of writing, teaching, information, education stuff from Gemini. And then there's this artistic layer. So whether your art is the spoken word or whether it's some other medium, your creativity is getting supercharged. In the short term from these transits, you're reconsidering it from the retrograde, and Jupiter moving into Leo, the sign that rules the fifth house, for the whole next 12 months. So from the middle of 2026 until the July of 2027, Jupiter is going to be activating those creative forces and sort of putting this fire under your creative watery pot. We also short term have Venus in Leo as well. So you may be asking the question about monetizing those creativity layers for yourself, or doing something financially with your love, your romance, or, just kind of a mindedness towards money and sustenance and building for your future. You could be stepping into a year of unprecedented health improvements. Sometimes those health improvements have to come through health issues. So you could be seeing either end of that token in the short term and long term as you're evaluating how your health systems are working. Are you taking care of your body? Are you paying attention to your organs? Do you know where your liver is? This is a very big question that I always have for people. Where are your organs? Would you even know if you were having a pain in an organ? This might be a time to get very familiar with where those important parts of your body are and how you can take really good care of them, and how you can put a stress management routine in place, how you can develop daily habits that even may be centered around creativity, and how you can get creative in your daily habits. So in the short term and the long term, you're having this come up, and there may be a banner time in the days around July 29th when Jupiter and the Sun will make a conjunction in this place for you. It could mean that something magical happens with your work or your business. It could mean something happens involving an animal or a pet. It could mean that something goes on with a creativity spurt or decision. And in general, this aspect can be one of the luckiest of the whole year. But there is a layer to it and a caveat in that it actually opposes the full moon, which is the same day, July 29th at 6 degrees of Aquarius, which is conjunct Pluto. So there is some power and transformation, possibly some mischief, with the literal and figurative ruler of birth, death, and transformation and rebirth occurring in this power-packed time at the end of the month. Also, you're launching, getting closer into this open tides period. So there's some kind of realization, some kind of awareness, some kind of breakthrough in your psychological space. That's where the full moon will be for Pisces. The house of Pisces is being accentuated by this lineup. And so something is coming out of your mind, your best idea, your readiness, your healing, the accentuation of an issue or an addiction or a fear that has to be dealt with before you can go to your next level. If you are struggling a little bit in your mental space, definitely seek more support and have scheduled support towards the end of the month, those days, towards the end of the month and beginning of August, because this can be a little bit destabilizing in its power. And, you'll want to have those support helpers around to help you make the most of this, gain the insights, and move on from it in a positive way. Another power date to note is the days around July 14th. We've got a 22-degree new supermoon in Cancer, adding to those beautiful watery placements. So all month you've got all Pisces placements really getting a nice, series of those trines. But then, of course, you've got this 22-degree new supermoon in the days around July 14th. All of the Pisces can get goodies from that. But if you're, let's see, about 17 degrees through 27 degrees, the closer you are to 22 degrees, the more you may get the goodies. And birthdays around March 9th through around March 19th, closest to around March 14th, you may get some extra special goodies from that new moon or some extra power in your seed planting intentions or wishes. Always these new moons are great times for doing vision boards, I will give you more information, a lot more information, as we get closer to that new moon. Also, as we get closer to that full moon, I will do separate reports with an intro that are time-stamped for those. But I wanted to give you just a brief introduction so that you're aware, kind of with our overview of the month ahead of time. I've given you a lot of dates this month. Wow, a lot. If you want those written down and to learn more about what you can see from these and how to best use them, go to anniehelpsyou.com right now in another browser and just grab your free star report by clicking on Unleash. You can get the July report. You can get early access to the August report. If you want to see my special calendar for planning for the open periods for the rest of the year, we've only got that one towards the end of the year. You can access my secret star portal and that calendar, as well as the earliest access to my content there. You can click through to learn astrology with me and see some other free resources I have there, all at anniehelpsyou.com. If you are a late degree Pisces, so birthdays like March 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Pisces placements to the rest of the sign, then go back to the beginning of the timestamp for Aries, because you very late degree friends will benefit from both the Pisces and Aries reports. If you're timestamping to another placement, then I will see you there. If you're finished for now, then look out for my new and full moon reports, and I will see you in the next report. Bye for now.